Here we'll start this work session. We don't do roll call because it's a work session, but all council members are here.
Can't deal with that. We're back to Edison. Okay. Thank you. Whoa.
Carry on, Mr. City Manager.
Yes. Megan, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes. It's just talk as loud as you can. We're going to go ahead and get started. This is Megan Onder. She is the person on our team that got the strategic planning process started, and I wanted to let Megan, she's going to do an introduction of Stephanie and kind of where we've been over the last some months and a year. So anyway, Megan, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Great. Thanks so much, Lee, for the opportunity to join you all this evening. It's really an honor, and I'm so pleased and I'm excited to see the outcome. And, you know, this is really a powerful community conversation that Stephanie has been able to initiate, you know, bringing together the many sectors of our community in Nome at really a pivotal point in our future. And when you think about, you know, the generations ahead of us and how Nome will change, and this is our opportunity to help shape and influence our future. So I'm really pleased and really thankful for the hard work that Stephanie has done to convene, you know, as many Nomans as possible. And I'm really, just really grateful. This is a huge opportunity, and thank you, Lee. You know, there's a lot of balance that needs to be achieved with growth, and I think that's what many of you will, you know, suss out in the coming months and year. And I think for the community to remember that this is a discussion point. This is in a draft form. This is for your consultation. This is for your comment. This is really for your thought. And so with that, I'll hand it over to Stephanie. It truly was an honor to work alongside her. I learned so much from her. And frankly, I learned so much my experience at the City of Nome, and I'm super grateful. Thank you.
Thanks, Megan.
Thanks, Megan.
Stephanie.
Yeah, council members. I know Mayor's not with us tonight, but thank you. My name is Stephanie Queen, and I've met a couple of you, but not all of you. I'm really glad to be back. I responded to a competitive RFP that the city put out just over a year ago. My experience is in local government of a city about the same size as Nome and budget the same size. And I spent 10 years as a planning director and economic development director, and then I spent 5 years as a city manager. And then for the last couple of years, I've been working on projects with still small cities around the state, because that's what I'm really passionate about. And when I saw this opportunity, it felt like a good fit, because although I wasn't familiar with Nome, it was really set up to be this partnering with Megan at the time, who was this new position, this assistant city manager for economic development. And I knew Megan's background and the experience that she brought to the table, and I thought that would be a good pair to kick off this process. What we're going to do tonight is show you where we're at, the first draft. We're introducing it to you for the first time. We're getting ready to introduce it broadly to the public for the first time. And it's, as Megan mentioned, it still is a draft. So we're at an important, critical moment where the public's going to see what we've put together. We're going to have an opportunity to get a lot more feedback. People can tell us what we got right in their minds, what we got wrong, what needs more exploration or more work. And so I'm happy to the plan for tonight is to walk you through the draft, how we approached it, how we organized it, kind of maybe get you oriented in what's in the document, and then be available to answer questions if there are before you guys dive into it, you know, over the next couple of weeks and really kind of see what's in this draft. If we can advance the slides, kind of an initial question, why economic development planning now? I think a lot of folks in the community recognize that Nome is really at a juncture with the challenges that are well known throughout the community when it comes to housing and cost of living and workforce development. You know, people are really passionate about wanting local people to have local jobs, wanting people to be able to afford to live here and stay here. So there's a lot of challenges that are well known. And then there's also just tremendous optimism and excitement about the mega projects, whether it's the port development, growing opportunities in tourism, just a lot of opportunities that could come. And so I think really the strategic planning process is a way to bring the community together, articulate a shared vision for the future, and really kind of start putting together an action plan for how the city, in conjunction with the partners it has in the community, can work together towards some of those outcomes. So it's been a great project to be able to work on. We can advance the slides to the one with the map. Oh. Thanks, Wally. So as I mentioned, this plan is really, I think, can be strategically used in decision making, because one of the things that we know is municipalities, the tribes, your partners, whether it's nonprofits in the region, everybody's resources are limited and staff capacity is limited. So I think the value of going through a planning process like this is it's really about focusing where you think that you can have the most impact, and being more strategic and intentional about which opportunities the city might want to pursue, rather than all opportunities that might come its way. So I think it's a great time for the community, and I sense that in the people we spoke to, the residents and residents of the broader region. They felt like it's a really critical time to come together as well. Next slide. And we can actually go to the next one, Molly. So just to give you kind of a reminder of the timeline, we started about a year ago. It was March of 2025 when we did some leadership roundtables. Those are really focused on infrastructure and different agencies in the region coming together to talk about what they had in the pipeline for capital projects. And some really great conversations came out of those meetings about the ability moving forward to coordinate capital planning. I can keep going, Brad. Really great ideas that came out of that meeting around coordinating capital project planning within the region, so that if there's cost savings to be had from timing of projects, just letting people know what's happening so that we can maximize the benefit of that planning. And then in April, there was a pretty large investment summit. I think many of you were in attendance at that, with some leadership, including Senator Murkowski was there, leadership from different industries, really a lot of excitement about what's on the horizon for Nome. And I think that was an important event, just getting people into the room and excited about the future. We did an open house the following day where we invited members of the community in to tell us about their vision for the community. That was a much smaller, intimate conversation. And I presented to the council kind of around the same time, just kicking off the project and kind of letting the council and the mayor know our plan for how we were going to approach this process. Then in June, we opened up a community survey that went out to the community for a month and got about 60 responses to that. We did a similar survey with a high school class. And so we wanted to get a different perspective, a youth perspective. And so we met with Mr. Wary's government class and also some student council members who participated in that. So that was, I'm glad we did that. The young people in this community pay attention. They know what's going on. A lot of what they said is what we heard from the adults in our visioning survey as well. And then in August and October, there were not public events. We presented at a chamber luncheon the survey results, but then in August through October, we focused on smaller, more targeted conversations. We had 3 different working groups, and the working group members are listed in the plan that you have in chapter 1, but one was focused on tourism, one was focused on small business support and entrepreneurship, and one was focused on education and workforce development. It was important for us, after we'd kind of heard broadly from the community, to then engage leadership at different partner organizations, whether it be, for example, in tourism, we had the chamber director, we had local business owners, we had folks from the museum and the library or the beautification society. So really kind of people who had expertise that could come into the conversation and have more detailed feedback about what we've heard and the direction we heard the community wants to go. So we had those meetings through August and October in the fall. And then at that point, Megan had departed from the city. We kind of did a handoff, lost a little bit of momentum there, but we regained it as through the winter, kind of drafting the document, which is what you see here today. So really, this is reintroducing to the public the project, hopefully getting people excited to participate again, and kick off another 30 days of soliciting feedback from the community. Next slide. Overwhelmingly, housing rose to the top of almost every conversation, and that I know is not a surprise. People really see it as foundational in that someone said, really, if we don't figure this piece out, none of the other things we talk about can be successful. So I think people really felt the critical importance of addressing housing availability and affordability. They also supported economic diversification and want more local small businesses to succeed. There was also a lot of support for workforce development, both younger people, kids and young adults, but really everyone being able to access the training and education to do local jobs. So heard a lot about workforce. And then the other thing that really was a theme through much of the feedback we got was just how close-knit the community is, how special the culture is here, and I would say an overwhelming sense of optimism that brings for people. Just the sense that we can do this together. We've done hard things together. We know how to partner. We know how to work together. That was really evident in what we heard from the community. I'm going to pause just for a moment. And please, I didn't mention this. Please feel free to interrupt me if that's okay, Mr. Chairman, if there's questions at any time. But I'll pause right now before I kind of continue to see if there's any questions or anything I covered so far that you wanted to comment on. Okay. The next thing in the document is a vision statement. This was drafted based on community responses to the visioning survey, and then the language was kind of workshopped through our 3 working groups. It just describes people's aspirations for the future, and as I mentioned, it talks to the fact that Nome is this hub of this broader regional community. It talks to resilience, and it talks to wanting to be honoring history and culture while strengthening the economy for generations to come. So a really positive aspirational statement that can be used to kind of ground some of the recommendations that come later in the plan. The way we organize the document is in 7 what we're calling core elements. And each of these are really kind of a functioning element of a healthy economy. So if you start at the top, leading together, that's all about governance and cooperation and partnership. The next one is skills for the future. That's workforce and training. The next is supporting local innovation. That's where we've got all the goals related to entrepreneurship and small business support. Sharing Nome's story, that's about culture, opportunities around tourism, especially cultural tourism. Living well speaks to things about quality of life. Could be air quality, housing affordability, childcare availability, really all of these things that make a community a great place to live. That's where all of those goals live. Foundation for growth really is about infrastructure, the roads and the water and sewer and the broadband that can support a growing economy and promote investment. So that section's all about infrastructure. And then finally, preparing for opportunity is when we speak to kind of some of these, I would say, mega projects, the port, Nome's role in the Arctic and how that has national implications. And so this plan is organized with these 7 elements. We're going to dive down, and there's goals within each one of them. I'm not going to go through all of those, but I'd like to give you a couple examples. And so I'll talk through a couple examples, and then we'll show you how we break it down even further in the action table. But thanks, Wally. First, I'm going to share a couple what I'm calling our city-led goals. Naturally, some of these things fall really squarely within a city's jurisdiction and scope of services. And these relate largely to being kind of a convening entity. The city is in a position of being able to bring people to the table, coordinate some of these conversations really well. There's goals around downtown improvements and more specifically Front Street and revitalizing that in the way that people want to see it thrive again. Infrastructure, as I mentioned, and then also regulatory environment. So let me show you a couple of those goals. The very first goal in the document is to improve coordination and communication among regional partners. And again, as I mentioned, partnership and coordination was just a recurring theme we heard again and again, both from the public and from, I would say, leaders in the community who represent different layers of government, different entities. They also want to cooperate and communicate well. I mean, we heard that again and again. Next one, for example, promoting a business-friendly environment through, Front Street, I skipped one. Downtown revitalization, there's a lot of opportunity there that the city can have a more direct impact. It can be streetscape, it can be programs that incentivize putting events and activities into vacant buildings to drive more people downtown. There's just a lot that the city can do on its own or in partnership when it comes to downtown improvements. And Front Street is an area where there's probably some lower hanging fruit in terms of cost or effort, things that could be done quickly. So that's, I think, pretty exciting for the city. Infrastructure, as I mentioned, this one's probably not low hanging fruit. As you know, these are big, expensive investments that take planning and funding, often needing external funding. So, identifying the right grants, whether it's federal or, these, but it's an important thing for the city to continue, I know, to think through. And last year when we were having the infrastructure conversations, I know the city's water sewer master plan was being updated at the same time. And so really, I think it's a challenging conversation to have about how to maintain existing infrastructure while also ensuring that there's availability for new entrants into the system, the ability to take on new demand, and being thoughtful about location. Can the city coordinate with people who are building housing to ensure that where that housing is being built is already supported by the system if they can, without having to create new extensions? So just maximizing the effectiveness of the existing infrastructure. And then the last one I want to mention, this one's maybe less visible to the community, but the regulatory environment. So, things like reviewing the zoning code. Is the zoning code, the mix of uses that are allowed downtown, for example, are those facilitating a thriving downtown? Is it the right mix of things? Building code, we talked a lot about structures that might be non-compliant with a certain element of the building code, and sometimes that can be a barrier from someone. And yet, they might want to do a certain project or a certain improvement, but that might trigger a bigger project that maybe they're not ready to tackle right now. So looking at opportunities to be flexible or to incentivize even incremental improvements through the building code, that's something the city can look at. And then it's even things like taxes. One person said, I just want to make sure that everybody's paying their taxes. I just want to make sure it's fair, So this idea of fairness, it really does support investment in a community when people can feel that the city's regulatory framework is consistent, they understand it, it's predictable, and it's fair. So, and then just to kind of shift away from kind of city-led things, there's a tremendous amount in this plan that really doesn't fall squarely within what the city offers in terms of services. And it really would require a partnership or even a partner to take the lead. And maybe the city is in just kind of a support role. Maybe it's advocacy or letters of support. But we kept all of those things in this plan, because we heard it from the public. And we wanted this first draft to be really more comprehensively representing what we heard from the community. So there's a lot that's in here that you might say, well, that can't be our responsibility, or how would we do that? It's still in the plan, I think, so that this document can be used by the community in general in maybe inspiring some partnerships to form if they aren't there already. Next one. So yeah, education and workforce development is a great example of something that would need to be partner led. And on our working group that tackled this, we had folks from NACTech and Nome Public Schools and UAF Northwest Campus, and just a lot of people that have different elements of this space, private businesses, employers in your community, unions. There's just a lot of different players that are doing this already that, maybe there's a way that the city can support them. Maybe it's donating space or equipment or just sponsoring an event. But this is one of the examples of kind of a partner-led goal. Housing. This is, as I mentioned, probably the highest priority. It is the highest priority in the public's mind when we ask people to rank issues. And housing is a good example of something that really would have to be, I think, all hands on deck. It's a complicated issue. It's complicated to understand the causes and the potential solutions. And so this is one where I would suggest getting a kind of a representative, diverse group together that wants to continue working on that, just to continue working on it together as best you can. Tourism's another one that really would benefit from partnerships. I know the city has a relationship with the chamber and the visitor center operations, and as well as offering things that tourists like recreational facilities and museums and helping with events, local events. So tourism's an area in the document where there's a lot of opportunity, and I think it would be, most of these items would be partnerships. This is another place where I made a note to pause briefly if there's any questions, because what we're going to lead into now is the action table. Are there any questions before I continue? Okay, thank you. This is a screenshot of the action table, which is chapter 4 of the document. So chapter 3 goes through each of those goals. Chapter 4, for each of those goals, there are now one or, in many cases, several specific action items that would help further that goal. So this example is just the very first goal I mentioned in the document about improving coordination. And as you can see, we've got the kind of core element, this leading together framework. Then we've got the goal listed. And then underneath, we've got some action items. And these are intended to be specific enough that if someone decided to pick it up, they could say, okay, let's accomplish this within the next 6 months, or let's do this, maybe not this year, but let's try and accomplish this next year. So in each case, we've got the action items on the far left. Under the category called lead, we tried to identify whether this would be something that the city could initiate on its own or whether it would be partner led. So this is kind of where that concept, you'll see it play out through the action table. If it is an action item that is going to rely on partners, we tried to list those partners. So this is not intended to kind of shift or to put anybody on the spot. I think mostly it was supposed to be in recognition and respect of the work that a lot of these entities are already doing in the community. So really where we could identify potential partners, it's because we felt that these are tribes or nonprofits or regional corporations that are already in this space, and that they have the expertise, they have the knowledge to kind of be important in that conversation. And then we tried to also, because there are so many goals and so many action items, tried to identify a timeline. Is this something that can be done in the next 1 to 3 years? That would be near term. Maybe if it's longer than that, say 3 to 7, maybe it's midterm. Some of these are longer than that. These are 10-year time horizons. And so we tried to identify that just to help people kind of get a sense of what's feasible, as well as whether it should be high, medium, or low priority. And when it comes to priority, that's an area where I'd really love feedback in this next 30 days from people, because that's really, they're seeing these for the first time. It'd be great for us to get that feedback about whether people agree on where the focus should be. And then one other thing we did are these little stars, and we're calling those start here. And that's really for city department heads or city staff. The amount of suggestions in the plan, I think, could be overwhelming. And those stars are just ideas of where you can get started, because they're either things the city entirely within the city's control, or they're easier to accomplish and they can be used to build some momentum. So those are some suggestions of where to get started. And next, I just wanted to just again speak to kind of the reality of how this plan can be used and what implementation means. It is an overwhelming number of goals and action items. And that's something that maybe we'll continue to think about over the next month. If there's too many in there, if we need to get more critical right now about what's being suggested. But the reality of this document is that any of these things are intended to be phased, where even if the entire goal can't be accomplished, the idea is just to have them in front of the city's leadership, if you've adopted this plan, the department heads, and your partners to say, what are we going to focus on this year? Or what do we want to try and accomplish? And then make meaningful, incremental progress towards that goal. So all of this can be phased. Much of it is going to have to be partnership driven. So the timing will depend on those relationships and the level of interest from partners. So that's going to somewhat, out of the city's control. But also it's intended to be flexible. So this is a document that can be reviewed. It can be as often as the city wants, annually, potentially, or maybe just reported out annually. But it can be really looked at every few years to see if those things that were identified still are the priority or the things that the community wants to be focused on. So really, over the next few weeks, as you're reading the document and kind of absorbing it, it'd be helpful to think about whether the recommendations in the plan resonate with you and what you hear from the community. If that feels like we got it right, are there things that are potentially missing or that need to be reworked? There might be some things we got wrong that need to be cut. That's all great feedback, as well as just encouraging community members, if they're able to write us with their comments, because every one of those we will read, we'll review, and then we will make changes as we get that feedback. So it's not too late if someone hadn't been participating in this process so far. If there's information or presentations or survey results that we had in the past that someone's interested in seeing, we'd be happy to share all of that. But even if they're joining the project for the first time, it'd be great to get that feedback, because this really is an important time to help us deliver a document that is most useful to you. And so that means it needs to be focused on the right things, and it needs to have the priorities in line with the vision that you also want through your leadership with the city. So after we sign off from tonight, the rest of the week, I'll be reaching out personally to different folks and different entities and sharing the document and inviting them to provide that feedback. We'll get it posted for the public as well, so that people have access to that. And then a month from now, we'll, as I mentioned, review and make any edits and then come back to the council. And it'll be something that you'll have an opportunity to consider formally adopting when that final draft is prepared, after we've done this next round of public feedback. And with that, that's all I've got prepared, Lee, and happy to answer questions or just open it up to discussion. I really appreciate your time. As I mentioned, it's been a really enjoyable process for me to be involved in, and I want to help deliver something that's useful and meaningful to you. So I welcome all your feedback, and I'll turn it back over to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for that presentation. And since this is the first time we're seeing it, we'll have to review it some more, and we can reach out to you individually or through Lee as well.
It'd be great. And I do want to thank Stephanie and a lot of our partners. I met with some folks last week, but it's really nice to be able to begin setting courses of things that we need to do, but prioritize them. If people come in and ask, well, let's, I see Chip back there, I need a brand new recreation center. I need a new this, need a new, we're going, that's really great. How do we pay for that? Well, in the meantime, let's get a preliminary engineering report and get projects shovel ready. Have a plan, when you have that and a grant comes up, I get a call from Scott and he says, Lee, I just heard that such and such foundation has $1 million. Man, I'm off. But we have canned projects, not just we're fixing to build something. No. Here's the plan. We know where we want it. We know you're more likely. Plus, multi-jurisdictional grants have greater odds of being funded, of sometimes even more than two. And we've got a great opportunity here with some of the corporations that are here that want to be involved. And that's awesome. So anyway, this is a start. I've been through this process a number of times. I'm not surprised being here a year, not surprised by anything I see. I was surprised by one. I'll see if you pick up on it. I'm not going to say it. I'll give you a white elephant prize or something if you get it, but I'll be curious to see that. I was surprised. So anyway, again, Stephanie, thank you. We're going to keep, we want, feedback, hand this out. You'll have it electronic, send it out. We'll do it on our websites, but we need input. This is the guide that helps guide the city and council. And what I want to do then is to prioritize these projects for the city itself and the things that affect the city budget and our operations, because we have not just a community plan, but specific to the city. What is our plan for certain things that we have full control of or authority of? And so we need to prioritize. So this is a great start, So questions, Ms. Chairman?
Charlie?
Hey, I had a couple of comments. I think my name's Charlie Lean, and I'm a longtime resident. I was ambulance chief for many years, 28. But the things I thought of, or the road system in Nome is not just the city's responsibility, but the state's. And, the road is integral to the development of Nome. We have Graphite One, we have the quarry out at it's producing more and more rock rather than less and less. So that both of those are dependent, both of those industries will be dependent on the road. The tourism, birders in particular, love the road. So we need to have that should be a priority in my mind. And then it seems like Nome has always been a mining town, and as a biologist, it's hard to admit. But anyway, the workers are largely interchangeable in those different mines, whether it's a graphite mine, a gold mine, whatever it is. So there's, training and bringing on the next generation, people that are going to be residents of Nome, that will help the community's economy with growth and sustain it. So I think trying to have programs to encourage the next generation moving in. Not housing is incredibly important, but having quality of life, the rec center, the library, the museum, all those things that make Nome unique. Nome has persisted when other towns evaporated due to the population of Nome having commitment to stay here and keep it going. And so quality of life is a big deal. And if we want to encourage people to stay or bring in new residents, we've got to have good roads. We've got to have medical care. We've got to have all those things that we have, and we've got to keep them here. So I think that would be another priority. Try to keep the quality of life high. Put a plug in the snow clearing and the dust control and things have been great here in Nome. We've got to keep that stuff up. So anyway, some thoughts from an old guy.
So we got a little bit less than 45 minutes before the city meeting, and we have a working budget discussion. Are we gonna be able to?
Yes, do we have Nikki somewhere?
I have a column.
Just have her call, yeah. Thanks, Tiffany.
You're already in.
Yep. There we go. We got you, Nikki?
Yep, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes. All right, Mr. Chairman, you ready?
We're ready.
All right. Well, you've got, should be this way unless you printed one yourself or something, but this is, we're saying a working budget. We literally were making copies this afternoon because you're getting more information this time of the year. So what I'm going to have Nikki do is walk through the presentation. We're going to talk when we get closer to the end about some other revenues that we're looking at that are doable. Some, we're looking at some others that will take legislation, but we'll talk about some of those as we go through the process tonight. So, Nikki, do you want to go ahead and get started on assumptions?
So I'll start my revenue. Overall revenue before our fund balance appropriation is projected at 18.6 million. This is an increase of approximately 11.2% versus the F-26 original budget of 16.7 million. In property tax, based on pre-BOE information, the tax base is projected to increase by about 14.1% from F-26. But this is subject to change following BOE hearings to be held in May. The FY27 estimated tax base is about 481.1 million for real property and 53.6 million for personal property, for a total of 534.7 million. Our mill rate is projected at 11.5 mils, where 1 mil is approximately $534,784. In sales tax collection, we're projecting an increase of approximately 19% based on actual activity. The F-26 original budget was 7.9 million, and we're projecting 9.4 million for F-27. In hotel motel tax, we're projecting an increase of 6.5%. We're moving from 244,000 to 260,000. The landfill revenue is projected at 360,000, and this is a 2.8% increase. Any questions on those assumptions?
Go ahead, Nikki.
On the next page, the state municipal assistance is projected at $89,014. This number comes directly from the state of Alaska. Recreation revenue is projected at an increase of 9.5%. The F-26 original budget was $279,100. F-27 is $305,700. The majority of this increase stems from the rental of the kitchen and dining areas. In investment interest earnings, we're projecting a decrease of 8.4%. This is because our current interest rates and investment are now between 3.5% and 4.2%. In F-26, they were between 4% and 5.38%. The general fund sweep has a current rate of about 3.53% and is 30,000 of the general interest earnings. We have a transfer of 150,000 from equipment replacement fund for the purchase of 3 public works vehicles. So our total projected operating revenue, including fund balance appropriation, is about 19.7 million, compared to about 17.1 million in F-26, which is an increase of about 2.6 million or 15.4%. So those are the revenue assumptions. Any questions there?
Nikki, on that recreation revenue, you said that was the only increase was pertaining to a rental of kitchen and dining area?
Yes, it's my understanding that the recreation center is looking at renting out that kitchen and dining area to a restaurant, and that will bring us in, I think, about 24,000 in revenue.
Yeah, was there an analysis done on what the square footage of rental income is? I see that's about $2,000 a month or so.
I did.
You did? Okay.
And we can talk about that. I have something to bring up to you later tonight.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Okay, Nikki.
Okay, an expense. Overall expenditure is projected at 19.7 million. Again, an increase of about 15.4% over the F26 original budget of close to 17.1 million. This working draft has a contribution to Nome Public Schools in at 3 million. We have a mandatory contribution of $1,549,913. And then this would be an additional contribution of $1,450,087 to make that 3 million. We have a contribution to Iditarod projected at 25,000 and the Iron Dog at 15,000. Now, removal expenditure is projected at 250,000. And right now, utilities are projected at $4.77 per gallon for heating oil. Property insurance is projected with a 5% increase. We're waiting for rates from APRA. And health insurance is projected at a 15% increase. We are waiting for rates from USI. On the next page, we have staff changes. In administration, we are removing the HR director and adding 1 full-time administrative support specialist. In the finance and clerk's office, we're removing 1 full-time accounting clerk and adding 1 clerical helper casual. In IT, we're changing 1 part-time IT specialist to full-time. In planning and engineering, we're adding 1 part-time building inspector. In the police department, we're adding 1 full-time lieutenant and 1 full-time police officer. In the public works building, we're adding 1 laborer, and we have 4 seasonal temporary hires. In public works roads, we're adding 1 full-time mechanic. And in the library, we're changing 1 education coordinator from full-time to part-time and adding 1 library clerk casual. Any questions on staff changes?
Administrative support specialist. What's that position do? Lee?
Well, I will tell you maybe I missed it. We're actually trying, I know, for instance, with an assistant or a deputy manager in these positions, some of that is taking up some of the HR, dealing with that. So I've got 2 individuals that will be doing that finance and this individual. So, and where was Nikki, help me on the admin support specialist. I thought I called it something else, but.
That was originally in as a special projects manager, but was creating confusion with the projects manager contract that we have in planning and engineering. I think we're still working on the job description for the position, but it's supposed to be providing administrative support in property tax, sales tax, as well as some other outstanding projects going on.
Yeah.
So,
HR
completely removed and it's
Yes.
just broken up.
Breaking it up into 2. And so far, this last few months, it's been great. I know the chief, we've been working with the chief's police department. Background stuff's doing well. We've got the couple of us, and of course, I have to approve in the end, but it seems the background checks, everything's going great. I mean, we're not having issues. So, but I mean, I know tonight this is just a start. So just know this is just a start. You're going to see, I think, some of these change. I know What I want to do is get every department in here in the next couple of weeks, and they'll go over their budgets in its entirety. You do have in this, I do want to mention, somebody asked me, do you do just summaries? No, you have a complete line item budget. That's the way we do it.
And can you just explain, because this is your first, you kind of came in.
Oh, Lord, don't even go into that last year.
You came in.
But it was fine. We got through
So this year is your first year,
it. Full.
full year going through there. What's your process as far as establishing the city budget? I mean, is this what basically what the department heads have requested? And then you're going to
Requested, and there have been some changes, so they're aware if there's been changes. Now, one of the things that I've said to the departments as we work, they'll come in here, any change we make, they have to be notified of quickly. I would usually talk to them, and that is the promise I made, before we make any changes, they will be talked to, because they know their department. If I go yank piece of equipment out of Public Works, well, Cole sure needs to know that. What is that going to do? Am I going to have to rent from Q Trucking or someone else? So right now this is an ask, but we have changed some of the budgets, and they're aware of that. Public Works, I did pull out, depends on the year on snow removal. It was $500,000. I moved it to 250. We've had some years where 250 worked fine. And so it's one of those chances, and we realize that. Now, once we bring the departments in, obviously, and you guys are looking at now developing your questions, which I guess next week we really start diving deeper. So tonight's kind of the immersion into all this, and give you some highlights, and not a lot of change, but I will tell you our big hit this year is health insurance and filling jobs. We're filling positions that were not filled last year, and they're filling, and that's probably over $1 million, just that. And that's where I've had the major increase is personnel this year. And you'll see it as you go through the line items.
I did have one more other question I was going to ask Nikki is, Nikki, when do you do the majority of the audit work for the auditors for the yearly audit?
The majority happens in September and October, and the field work is scheduled usually in the early part of November with the auditors.
Okay, so you're usually done by before the end of the year, majority of that work, or?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I usually get a draft from the auditor sometime in December, usually between Christmas and New Year's, that I start reviewing. And then we banter back and forth with questions, and we try to have that document ready for you by the end of January.
Okay, so my question is can we speed this whole process up? It's the middle of April now, and one of our issues is always trying to figure out what to fund the schools with, and as well as other department, but especially for the schools. Can we speed this whole process up for this first draft and this discussion we're having now in mid-April? Can we get that earlier in the year, do you feel?
We can. It was hard this year because we launched new unit budget software and we were still going through implementation, but we have a better understanding of how that works now, and I think we could definitely speed the process up.
Is that software making things more efficient once you learn it?
I think it's making things easier, and it's going to be easier to pull some data out of it for a deeper look at expenses and revenue.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay.
I'm not sure where you left off, Nikki, but you can
Yeah.
carry forward.
Say where she left off.
I think you're still in
All right,
position
I'm at
somewhere.
the transfers to other funds, which is the transfers out of the general fund to other funds, is $391,874. And that's made up of a transfer out of $93,874 for the payment on the CAT 160M, $150,000 from vehicle replacement fund, and a transfer out to capital projects for $148,000. And I'll go over those details on the next slide. But this results in a projected net operating deficit of about $1,076,000 to be covered by appropriating from fund balance and savings. There's $150,000 coming from the fund balance appropriation through equipment and vehicle replacement, and $926,359 out of the fund balance appropriation from the general fund. On the next page, that $148,000 breaks down into $60,000 for the fire department south fire hall door replacement, $53,000 for the rec center's boiler replacement, and $35,000 for the cemetery side by side. And then again, that debt payment for $93,874 is for the new cat grader. So next, we're going to just go into some budget highlights. In general tax, we have $6.1 million for property tax. Again, that's right now at 11.5 mils, where 1 mil is $534,784. We have close to $9.5 million in sales tax, $260,000 in bed tax. In permits, licenses, and fees, we have $225,000 in building permits and $360,000 in landfill maintenance fees. In shared revenue, municipal assistance, $89,014 in state revenue sharing. Again, that comes directly from the state of Alaska, and $10,000 in estimated revenue sharing from liquor licenses. In payment in lieu of taxes, we have $591,000. This is estimated pilot for unorganized areas, and this is also passed through from the state of Alaska. And $250,000 for the NJUS pilot.
So does that number change year to year, that NJUS pilot, or do these other pilots change year to year?
The estimated pilot from the state changes year to year, and it usually goes up at least a few thousand. The NJUS pilot has been the same for many years. We have other pilots in that revenue section that are also based on the mill rate.
Okay.
For the recreation and pool, we have $305,700 in revenue for the rec center and $31,000 in revenue for the pool. On the next page, for museum and library, we have $5,000 for the museum gift store and $1,000 for library use fees and copies. We're projecting $3,400 in fines. In investment and interest earnings, $308,060 in interest income from our CDs and our AMLET money market funds, and $30,000 interest income from the general fund sweep. In building equipment and land lease rentals, we have $25,000 in equipment use. This is a placeholder for FEMA projects that are ongoing. $12,000 for the rental of Old St. Joe's Church, $15,000 for the rental of the mini convention center, $17,626 combined for the Nome Cablevision lease and the Atlas Tower 1 lease, and $140,493 for the Katirvik Cultural Center lease and rent from the police department. In donations and contributions, we have $7,500 for the museum. They are accepting donations in place of admission fees. And we have $2,000 for fall and spring cleanup donations. And that's the end of the revenue highlights. Are there any questions there? On the next page, we'll start with expense. In the legislative department, we have $37,450 for the state and federal lobbyists and $22,000 for council donations and contributions and facility fee waivers that were grandfathered in via R140301. In admin, finance, and IT, we have $40,000 in audit fees shared with the port, $23,000 in copy fees, ink, check stock, and operating supplies, $28,100 for the city apartment, $39,814 for maintenance agreements. Those are with Cassell, Canon, Pitney Bowes, Local Gov, and Unibudget. $10,000 for assistant city manager recruitment. $5,000 for spring and fall cleanup activities. $180,701 is our IT managed services support contract and project work for the city, and that's with AngelCom. We have $80,734 in SmartNet renewal, Civic Plus website hosting and support, server support, and other IT maintenance needs to support city equipment. The last one is $53,100. This is an estimated debt payment for end-of-life servers and switches. We have $368,000 worth of servers and switches, and that's the list price that we need to replace in F27. So we're looking at doing a 4-year financing at 6% interest. We will qualify for NASBO pricing, which is probably going to be a 40% discount, we hope, but the market is really volatile right now. So at this time, we're going to just budget for that list price.
I got a couple of quick questions. Assistant city manager recruitment, 10 grand. What's that money spent on?
It won't be that high. I don't, for advertising stuff, it's probably going to be about $2,500. So
Okay. Well,
that's a place. So there goes 7,500. So
you got $1 million increase that you got to work on. So there's $7,500 right there.
oh yeah, we're still chopping. Takes one penny at a time.
And then my other question regarding the big one in the administration finance IT is 180 grand for IT management services. How much of that do you think is for required programming and subscriptions versus what do we pay for a contract to have outside IT managed services? Do we know the breakdown on that?
Let me get it for you.
Or could we get that for a
Because,
future time?
yeah. We'll get it for the next meeting and break it down, because some of this is, we are way behind on improving routers and all these. It's years. They've aged out 7, 8, 10 years. So that's where we're looking at Dell, which is not uncommon to go to Dell and get that 300 and some thousand. We actually would do a 4-year deal. It's kind of like a lease finance deal, but that's.
Well, that's the one that Nikki mentioned about for
Yeah.
the 53-1.
Mhm.
And I was just wondering, since the largest hit on that is 180,000.
Yeah.
If we could get
The contract itself.
if we could get more information on what
We can do that.
what we're getting out of that, and if
Yep.
there's any other way to do it cheaper than that, I guess.
Would be nice.
I can tell you that the contract breaks down at $120,701 of that number, and the rest of that budget is for project work and travel.
That's still part of the expense. Yeah. Getting people here. And we do share with, they try to come up, they actually do work for NJUS and a couple other companies here, so they really try to schedule. And I'll say this is to come on the same week when they're working with several, so there's some savings there, but it's very expensive.
So the AngelCom contract for them is 120, and then you're requesting in your budget that it would be a city employee would be the.
We've had somebody local who can do basic things to go in. If they've got to put in a new device, AngelCom might walk them through it. Setting up a new computer, because we have to have boots on the ground. We don't, so that's what that's about, is having somebody here. We have done part-time. I can't go back to part-time. We think we need more than that, but there's one of those things we can look at negotiating.
Just wonder if NJU, we continue to talk about looking for synergies with our partners at NJUS and the school district. It seems like that might be some area, if we need boots on the ground, kind of, that we could work with
Could
the
be.
partners.
NJUS uses the same.
Same company.
Sorry, I mean for
That's
the
what
one,
I'm saying,
the one
yeah.
boot on the ground person,
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of.
To
Yeah.
We
when they-
talked, well, that's what I've talked to John about, the possibility and time, yeah.
Can I ask the school, Jamie, real quick? Sorry, does the school still employ an IT person that,
Yes, we do. We have a full-time IT director, we have a full-time systems administrator, and then we have our gentleman that works part-time as a technology teacher and the other part-time as IT support. So we have 2.5 people in our IT department.
okay,
Just, you know, we have to replace our switches like every 5 years, but we qualify for funding through the E-rate program because we are a school district.
I wish I had you right.
all right, thank you. Any other questions? Scott?
Hey, Nikki? Scott?
Yep.
Can we go back to the very first page for the sales tax revenue projections? Item number 4 indicates that you projected an increase of approximately 19% based on actual activity. What does that mean?
Based on using the actual activity we have in F-26 to get a base for taxable sales and then projecting forward for F-27.
Right, so you took the actual and projected FY26 taxable sales and you just applied a 6% year-round sales tax to it instead of the 5 and the 6% at mid-year.
And
Did
we
you,
also applied a projected increase.
and
Even if it were still 5, what the increase would be.
so to be honest, I thought there would be a larger increase in revenue considering the extraordinary amount of development that's happening in taxable sales with port development, all of the construction project, all of the contractors, just all of the activity. I would have expected to see a more sizable increase, especially considering it's at 6% that I'm seeing here. Because it seems like the amount of taxable sales from FY26 and at least the initial budget for FY27, very similar. Not sales tax. And you don't think we should be increasing that projection just a little bit?
I think we can, but I wanted to
I
put
think
in
we
here,
can do
here's
a
kind of the minimum. We
Yeah,
have
this
to
is-
define what a lot is, but I want to make sure that we're safe in the year. I do
Any
think we can
inflation,
increase it.
any inflation factored in?
Yes,
So
but we're gonna have, yeah. Go ahead.
I mean, I'm not saying we can fill the $1 million hole with,
Okay.
higher sales tax projections, but this seems a little bare bones to me.
It's low. But that's what, but obviously when you increase, you don't know, just like to say if you say that's where we want to go on those revenues,
I'm just,
then we can say, okay, if it doesn't happen, here's what we're gonna have to do. But I personally think we can go up, but we tried to be conservative on this first blush of, of the budget itself.
what's the biggest sales tax category in terms of what kind of sales?
Right now, Nikki, can you divide that out?
Is it fuel?
It's gotta be fuel. I want to think, I don't have that right in front of me.
it is fuel, oil, and utilities. And then from there, it is
And that should,
food.
I don't
oh, I
know.
agree with you.
I don't know, but
I think so, but yeah.
I mean, do we expect more fuel to be sold in FY27 than in FY26? And I can say yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Even if the price is the same,
Right.
that's correct.
If the money's the same, I have not, and that's where I would
I mean, if
need
you just look at
a
the
little
port
more
project,
expertise about sales, because I don't have that. And, that's part of what we need
Yeah,
to discuss.
I know this is just the first blush.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, I'm with you.
I
These
think
that
we're a
we
little
talked
light on
about
the
last-
sales tax projections.
Yes. Mhm.
Just wanted to throw
That's
that
gonna
out
help
there.
us out a lot. But I didn't want to jump out there until I said, okay, here's where we
Yep.
are. Yeah, like I said, first blush.
Sounds good. Thanks. Thanks, Nikki.
And Mr. City Manager, I did hear that you're conservative in your revenue numbers. Are you conservative in your expenditure numbers? Because I remember when we sold the 6% sales tax two people had to vote on it, that we
Yep.
were going to try to use that to make up the gap in our, of it coming out of the savings.
Yes.
And our
To try and
expenditures
divert that.
have gone up more than,
Correct. My personnel cost. That's the big additional cost.
How much of our budget is people? Percentage wise, about 2/3?
Isn't it around 11? I remember the number. Nikki, on personnel, benefits, all that, is it around, give me that number, is it like 11 something or what was that?
Yeah, it's around 60%. It's 11.5 million in the F-27 draft.
And it had a big impact on us this year. I'm sure all of it. I mean, it's just
Gotta
is
be
what
able
it is.
to recruit and retain, qualified folks.
Exactly.
So,
And now we're starting to get them, so we're having to pay for them. But at least that's going well, on some recruitment. So, yeah. Okay, Nikki.
Cool. Thanks.
Yes.
In the city clerk's office, we have $45,924 for the appraisal assessment contract and digital appraisal software used by the assessors, $12,000 in election expenses, $45,000 for code codification, Yukon title expenses, mapping and hosting services, Duncan GIS, Cassell and Canon support, MyGov and LocalGov. In planning and engineering, we have $65,000 for a contracted city engineer through Bristol and $192,805 for our city planner, Unigrants platform, MyGov, project manager, and economic development. In the police department, we have $46,000 in evidence storage, body cams, and tasers, and we've scheduled for PC replacements. We have $55,000 for officer certifications and training needs for the coal department, $21,000 in firearms and ammunition, $22,000 in NPD recruitment, $42,000 in projected fleet fuel costs, and $22,000 in projected fleet maintenance. In animal services, we have $33,300 for our independent animal control contractor, for $32,000 and $1,300 set aside for the annual pet vaccinations clinic, and $25,000 for improvements to the animal shelter. In the fire department, we have $70,800 for volunteer incentives. This includes the electricity credit, as well as their fire response hours and training hours. We have $6,000 for fire training and ongoing certifications, $15,000 for turnout gear, $30,000 for tools, and $60,000 for Scott Air Packs. In building maintenance, we have $28,925. The majority of that is for the annual boiler inspections for all buildings, and then the annual fees for their Maintain X software. $26,000 in fleet fuel and $18,000 for janitorial supplies for all buildings. In the Public Works building itself, we have $10,000 for general maintenance and overhead door repair. In the landfill, we have $91,500 for engineering costs and also for the fall and spring cleanup. Brad, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you let John Hanlon know that the Zoom is not working?
Okay.
Thank you. We have $13,250 for the projected surveyor services cost, as well as the state permitting, $29,000 for cover material and hydro seeding, and $74,826 for the compactor debt payment. In the cemetery, we have $10,000 for road and fill materials. In parks and playgrounds, we have $4,000 for the ICView playground and City Hall lot for fencing and paint, and $8,000 to rebuild 2 bus shelters. In road maintenance, we have $150,000 for gravel and road signs, $150,000 for dust control, $250,000 for snow removal, $150,000 for fleet fuel, and $180,000 for fleet maintenance. And then we have $20,000 for road replacement phase 1, which is going to be for the big.
Nikki, we have a question.
Sorry, I was on Public Works for road maintenance. Do we know how much of an increase that is kind of year over year? I know a big concern in the community is, you know, if it's a dry summer, it's the dust. If it's a wet summer, it's the potholes. And I was just curious, do we know how much of an increase that is, and what do we think that increase is going to be able to get us as far as seeing results?
Talking about dust?
Anything to do with our roads, yeah.
Well,
I'm just looking at the 150 and the 150. And
yeah. Our big thing, and I will say this, Nome Eskimo, I know they are NEC, they are partnering with us on some of the dust control, some of the chloride, God, I lost the name of it, but anyway, we put that down, but they're helping us pay for that, which is awesome. So you're starting to see some of those partnerships, but we actually have a dust control committee. And we're looking at, I know the mayor has spent a lot of time trying to get a study on what can we do better with that fine dust. And some of that is because of chemicals. You know, it reduces it down almost to like a talc powder, talcum powder. So anyway, those are ongoing, but you know what, I mean, and on roads, part of the plan is that we do not have really, between the city and the state, prioritized transportation program. And we've got to have that. So we've already started those conversations, or I have, with DOT, not here, but in Anchorage with their engineers. So we've got a lot to do on that.
Got it. I was just trying to determine if it was a substantial bump in the budget as we kind of start to grapple
On
with some
dust
of
and
these
stuff, it's going to get,
as we start to grapple with
Yeah.
some of these really obvious.
well, the other
Every
thing
time I
is,
drive.
oh yeah, yeah.
Excuse me, did Nikki answer your question?
Oh, right. Sorry, Nikki. If you wanted to take a stab at it, you could. If you have
I
anything
just
to
was
add.
going to tell you, in prior years, the road maintenance materials line was by itself usually $150,000, and this year Cole asked to split it out, so there's a new line item for dust control. So there's $150,000 for the gravel and road signs, just road materials, and an additional $150,000 for dust control, because he recognizes that is very important to the community.
Thank you, Nikki.
Does that mean street signs? Like street names?
Yeah, because we have to replace, in fact, we're doing a list now. In fact, yeah, I think we have we've got a lot to
Yeah.
replace. And sometimes we knock them down, not that we would do that, but it does happen. I found 2 or 3 signs that there's got to be some teenager that has 15 of one sign because they keep tearing it down. I don't understand. But anyway,
Okay, we have 4 minutes to 7. Are we going to start our meeting on time? If so, we'll have to pick this up on another work session. And we'll take a 4-minute break.
okay.
All right. Thank you, Nikki.
Thank you.
Ready to call this meeting to order? At 7:03, clerk, could I get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Johnson,
Here.
Councilmember Mortensen,
Here.
Councilmember Henderson.
Here.
Councilmember Miller,
Here.
Councilmember Green.
Here.
Councilmember West.
Here.
Student Representative Stasenko will be late.
Thank you. We have an agenda before you. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda, or are there any suggestions for any additions or deletions?
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second. Councilman Martinson, Councilman Green. Roll call, please.
Councilmember West,
Yes.
Councilmember Green,
Yes.
Councilmember Miller,
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson,
Yes.
Councilmember Mortensen.
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson.
Yes. Okay, we have minutes from March 27th for the special meeting minutes. Can we get a motion to approve the minutes?
Make the motion.
Second.
First, Councilman Henderson and Councilman Martinson. Roll call, please.
Councilmember West,
Yes.
Councilmember Green,
Yes.
Councilmember Miller,
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson,
Yes.
Councilmember Mortensen,
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson.
Yes. Okay, next item on the agenda is communications. We have 3 liquor store renewals, Nome Liquor Store ABC renewal, Alaska Commercial Company ABC renewal, and Hanson's Trading Company ABC renewal. Are there any concerns or? Go ahead,
I
Scott.
was just gonna ask the police chief, any concerns with any of the package store renewal licenses?
Anybody else? I had a question for the city manager.
I'm listening.
Okay.
Yes, sir. I'm reading and listening. Yes, sir.
What is the city's involvement with the liquor store? What are the city's involvement with the liquor store at all? I guess.
Are we talking about the bottle sales? And are you
You're
there?
talking about general sales.
No, I'm talking about, does the city have anything to do with the day-to-day operations of the liquor stores?
No.
Okay, because if you go to either one of the liquor stores, they keep a list. And on that list, you ask why they're keeping that list, and they says because we're required to by the city.
No,
Yep.
so how that was made, and I think this is before Lee, so I could probably speak.
Go ahead.
Oh. The 3 stores made up the list that they're supposed to be sharing back and forth. The stores made their own decisions to go to the 1 bottle per customer. The stores made their own list to ban whoever they're banning. So trust us, we have people coming in, walking over saying that the managers over there are telling them to come here to get us off the list. No, that's not how it
It's not
works.
us.
It's not our list.
So Nome really is open for business. We could, if they so choose, all of the kind of rules that they applied, the 1 bottle, the no booze on Sunday, that's all their choice and they could end that at any time.
I've even
Yeah.
had this, I've had the store manager at Hanson's asking if I can give him something in writing. I'm like, this has nothing to do with us. This is your guys' policy, not ours.
Yep. It's increased alcohol sales, or because we get a lot of sales that are not from here. They're from outside coming in, which that's great. Tell them come on and buy.
The package stores made a voluntary decision to do it on their own when one of the package stores was under a lot of scrutiny.
Okay.
And this was 4 or 5 years
And
ago.
there was an ordinance that came in front of us and we didn't pass it.
Right, but they did it
That's what they
voluntarily.
wanted. Those were the exact rules or the exact bullet points that-
Recommendations
recommendations that were
that
put out.
didn't pass.
Did not pass.
Right.
So, but they did it anyways.
Wow.
So we're starting
I think
to get
those are all
questions.
voluntary.
Yeah, they are. So we've got a couple, at least one manager who's
Including the
asking,
Sunday closure.
why are we closed? Why can't we sell more than what? And they asked us, and we're like,
Well, these guys
You
are
can
all new.
choose.
Maybe you should get them all to come in your
well,
office
we've
and sit
talked
down.
about that
They're
we're
all
gonna-
new.
Right,
From that.
They're
that's
new.
a good point, right,
They
But
don't
I
know.
think
They
the
just
time
know
is
how
now.
it's been.
right.
So they're just keeping it up. So,
Yeah.
put that
So
on
I've
your
gone and
list.
asked, I said, do you have the book? Do you share it? And this, I was told, share it. So if you put somebody on a list over here and over here,
Well,
how do you?
at the time, there was a lot of concern about runners and people that shouldn't be,
Yeah.
they were buying, liquor and then selling it to folks that were not supposed to have it underage, whatever. So I think all of these were voluntary decisions on the part of the package stores to try to help alleviate some of those issues.
Yep.
So.
That's what we've been told.
So if you could meet with the current managers,
Be glad to.
let them know,
There's nothing from the city and they can do what they want.
right,
Yeah, and just say, is this still what you want to do? I mean, that's up to them. And we have a choice of ordinances if you wanted to do that.
there was a concern, and there was, these were measures taken to try to curb some of the consumption that was happening downtown, and this was some of the choices that came out of that. But the city's involvement, I don't think we have that on the books, and so that's why I wanted to bring it up.
It was like an MOU or something like
There
that.
might have, yes,
But
but
just not legally enforceable.
next item on the agenda is Nome Preschool has asked looks like they have asked the city to provide a support letter to the preschool. Mr. Manager, is that?
Yes, I mean, I've given that to you and we've looked at it. We're not obligated in any way as far as being obligated to money or anything. Looks like a good project. They approached us a couple weeks ago. Again, want to partner with them and helping them to get those funds. I will give those programs. They work really hard on grants and fundraisers, so that's been pretty impressive.
And it looks like it's asked for the mayor to consider that. Was the mayor able to do that without city call? I mean, the mayor's not here to speak, but is it the intention for the mayor to?
He could have, but he said he really wanted it to come before you so you would see it. And then you were authorizing the mayor to sign.
Okay. Can I entertain a motion potentially?
That's what the mayor said.
I appreciate, that's what I look.
Make a motion to approve the support for the Nome Preschool letter.
Second.
Thank you. Councilmember Lust and Councilmember Miller. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Johnson,
Yes.
Councilmember Mortensen,
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson,
Yes.
Councilmember Miller,
Yes.
Councilmember Green,
Yes.
and Councilmember West.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passed. Next item on the agenda of communications is commemoration of the Norge 1 flight, which if you have a chance, you should definitely Google this. It was a really large event. It happened where they landed a huge
Dirigible.
balloon type
Yeah.
thing that was humongous, and they landed in Teller, coming from Norway. And there's a whole bunch. There's a lot of information on this. I'm not sure if the museum is helping to sponsor this.
As far as sponsorship, I mean, we'll have an exhibit. We've got some things from the Norga is how they say it. And we'll probably go with them to Teller, but that's sort of, we don't know what the road's gonna be like. But this guy, Casey Pape, who is very into promoting this in Anchorage, got some airship games. So after they do their stuff in Anchorage, whenever they come up, we'll probably have a game night at the museum or something like that. Some stuff, bringing it out.
This is really a cool worldwide event that happened right in our backyard, and by the looks of it, that thing was huge. I can't imagine it coming now. How much of an impact it would have landing in Nome or Teller. And what it must have had back then was really amazing, so. All right, on to citizens' comments. Are there any citizens who'd like to bring up issues or comments to the council? Come up, if you could, can you come up to the podium and state your name and what your comment is, please?
You got to excuse me. I have a hard time breathing. I got a COPD and lung cancer and a brain tumor going on here. So you got to kind of excuse me if I kind of fade in and out on what I'm talking about. And then they say it's old age. So I got to save a lot of money. But anyway. Oh, yeah. Leon Boardway.
Thank you.
Okay. No, the first thing I want to really bring up, one thing that you guys mentioned is this list, this black list that they're doing with the liquor stores. We shouldn't encourage anybody to do anything with a blacklist. So they could have their own list among themselves, but there should not be a blacklist, and we shouldn't encourage any idea of setting up blacklists. Okay. And then, and if you want to really control the problems with alcohol, and I was a bartender for years, and I'm a recovering alcoholic. If you really want to do something about the alcohol problems, is do away with alcohol, period. And another thing too, so I went down to Anchorage. I've been going down there about every 3 or 4 weeks from this radiation and stuff. And I said, well, I'm going to walk downtown, and I don't like to badmouth any parts of Alaska. I kind of feel bad even bringing it up. But anyway, the whole atmosphere downtown has changed. And I used to run around them streets when I was 17, 18 years old. And every year you go down, you see your buddies, and things change and things. But I went this last time. These guys are, I watched on the TV on this fentanyl stuff where people like this. I'm watching this. So I'm going to tell you, anybody brings any fentanyl in this town, I'm going to break their kneecaps. I'm serious. And we all got to think that way. They could bring anything else. That's your guys' problem. Anybody else is going to take it. But that fentanyl, somebody brings it, we've got to do something. Okay, now, the reason I come down here is this cab business. We need to set up something for a 6-month emergency system to get us through this whole thing, to give us 6 months to get this thing figured out better, is to get cabs on the streets. Go back to the way it used to be. If you have if you got a license and you're a halfway decent person and you got insurance, you could set up a little cab company. And then you have your competitions and stuff like that. But I'm talking as a handicapped person now and a senior citizen. And then I'm going to play that senior citizen card because I'm 75 now. And I had to walk. Matter of fact, I had to walk to pay my GCI bill before they cut me off because I've been in Anchorage Hospital and I couldn't put anything together down there. So I had to run down there at 4 thinking I'm going to be late and couldn't get a cab. And I ended up having to walk down there. And with the COPD, it's the breathing will give you a heart attack. You're not going to die because you can't breathe. You're going to die because you have a heart attack. So I'm just rattling on is what we got to do is do something about these cabs. Get some cabs out on the streets. And another thing I like to mention is set up a VPSO training center up in this area. And I always look at the cop shop out here and beautiful big building, put a training center in there. Then we could train our people in this area to become policemen, regular policemen, VPSO, dispatchers, whatever it takes, instead of bringing these people in from outside. And they come up, work for, I don't know what the contract, and don't get me wrong, I don't know. I'm probably just talking too much now. But to keep that money, kind of locally, and where people in this area that love this area could, go to training and invest in our town instead of taking that money out and buying a ranch someplace and coming up here for a couple of weeks. And I'm not knocking you guys. So, and you know, all we need is one good chief of police. And that's all we need as a cop in this town. All you got to do is knock on your news. You better knock it off. But anyway, you got to excuse me. I had this stuff built up in my brain. Oh, here's another thing too. Is the Ray Mala Film Academy. If somebody out there in the public would like to start something like this, I got a lot of things planned out on that. And is to teach everything, every aspect of making a movie. And then put, promoting Ray Mala and that way. And another thing too is Ada Blackjack, Golden Beach Park. And I use Golden Beach Park, but that part doesn't. But I want to have years ago I came up is to set up Meadow Beach as the Ada Blackjack Golden Beach Park. And just someplace we can sit and meditate. Okay, thank you. Okay.
Steve Longley, you all know me. This ABC blacklist thing that originally came about, it was a court. It came from the court system, and they would bring a list of all the individuals that were on conditions of release with no alcohol. That's how it originally came about. And it evolved into the liquor stores doing their own. But it came about 20, 30 years ago from the court system. But apparently that was inappropriate coming from the court. The alcohol sales and stuff, the size of the bottle and get rid of the pints and the half pints. I was told it came from the city itself, whether it was an ordinance or a recommendation or what. But I've been told numerous times over the last 4 or 5 years, it came from the city. It might have been a recommendation from the city, but it's not working. I'm out there every single day. I'm out there till 11 o'clock at night. You see the individuals that are on Front Street every day. Now they have to all get together and get a big bottle. Before they'd get a little half pint each, and they'd be out by themselves, hidden and hiding it, and they can't do that anymore. They get a big, huge bottle, and then of course you get 10 people sucking on a bottle. They're going to get into fights, and then the ambulance is going to be called. It's not working. They need to come back with the little half pints, and people. I had an individual the other day. Man, you can't buy a half pint in this town. He had to buy himself a big bottle. He was just here overnight when all he wanted was, just a little nightcap, a shooter or a couple of them. But he has to buy this big liter bottle, just to have a nightcap. So that scenario is not working. You of course know the main reason I'm here, cabs. Last meeting or two ago, someone was saying, "Oh, illegal cab." I'm not a cab. I do rights for donations. It's different. You guys can say what you want about it. I know the ordinance. It's a gray area in the ordinance. I had 2 officers come up to me in the last year, say they received a complaint, and I know where the complaint came from because they told me. And they looked at the ordinance and they agreed that it's a gray area, and the 2 officers that I talked to said they weren't going to cite me. But that's 2 out of, I don't know, what is there, 20 officers? 12? 2 out of 12 said they weren't going to cite me. If it goes to court, I've been in court more often than not. I feel I'd beat it. And I'm going to keep on doing it. I've been doing it for, year and a half now. I'm still out there every single day. I'm not hiding. I'm not advertising anymore because I got so many people. I can't take care of the people I already have. So I don't want any new people. I quit going to the high school. I'm at the point now where I may quit going to the airport because I've got so many people going to the store, going to work, things on that line. I'm not going anywhere. I looked at starting a cab company. I used to own Easy Cab for 10 years. It's still on the table, but in talking with Mr. Grimmer, he told me there was a policies and procedures thing separate from the city ordinance involving taxi cabs and chauffeur's licenses. I did a public records request. He denied it, saying it's being edited or whatever you want to call it. They're going over it and they're making changes, which is immaterial because the records request is for that document. If I'm talking, would you just?
Yeah, just wait.
That happened last week, our last meeting. One of the staff was interrupting Mr. Bordway. That's inappropriate. When someone's up here speaking, they have the floor. If they can ask, you can ask questions after I'm done if you want, that's fine. Lost where I was going. Anyway, I talked with Mr. Grimmer, and he denied it. And like I said, there was no cause to deny it. Just because it's being edited and redone and whatnot, that's immaterial. It's a public document. He should have given it to me. And he said to get a copy, I have to go to the court. And I got a letter from him. Actually, it says that. That if I disagree with it, I have to go to Alaska Superior Court. And then I have 30 days to file it from the receipt of this letter, which, no, I don't have to go to court to get a public records. If I should have been given that. And then if I want a copy of the new edited version, I'd have to send another records request to get that. After I got this, Mr. Grimmer through Mr. Soxy said that they were still working on it. It would take a couple months. Well, I got this letter in February. It's April. That's been 2 months. Then a couple weeks ago, I got a letter from email from Mr. Soxy saying there is no such thing as this policies and procedures. There isn't a document. So, I mean, is there or is there not a document pertaining to that? Before I start a cab company, I want to know. I want to know what's in there. I want to know what I'm dealing with. I've been working with ordinances and bylaws and stuff for almost 50 years of my life. So I know I'm good at reading them. I'm good at, I've edited them. I've been on multiple boards in my life, and that's something I deal with. But before I start a company, I want to know what I'm dealing with. I want to know what the rules are. I don't want something to come back and bite me, 6 months down the road. Or right now, you look at the chauffeur's license applications. It says you have to have a business license and a sales tax license if you're not affiliated with a cab company. There's no cab companies, so you can't get a chauffeur's license. I got one. I'm not sure how, but I got it in February of this year. And then several bus drivers, 5 bus drivers got one, but they're affiliated with Morgan's. So right now, if someone comes in to start a cab company, a smart person would line up their chauffeurs first, because you don't want to start a cab company and it takes. I've done a chauffeurs. I've gotten in 4 days before, 3 or 4 days, but generally it takes a week to 10 days from the start to finish to get one. A guy is going to be sitting on, Checker Cab was paying $25,000 a year for insurance, your expenses, your car, and everything else. You're going to be sitting on that for 2 weeks while you try to find chauffeurs. No, you have your chauffeurs first before you start your company. It just makes common sense. And like I said, I'm still looking at starting a taxi. And the easiest thing for you guys to do, which it would be during unfinished business, you could bring up the ordinance or the resolution you guys voted down. You guys can bring that back up, doing away with the permits. It obviously didn't work by opening it to everybody. But you guys had a last spring, I think it was, you guys had the ordinance doing away with the permits completely, but you edited it to open it up. I would just take, a motion from 2 of the 4 that voted in favor of that. You guys could do that tonight if you wanted. Then if that happened, I'd be a legal cab tomorrow. I have my business license. I have a sales tax license. I have a chauffeur's license. I just don't have a taxi permit. I could get one. It would only take me like a few days to get one. But like I said, until I see these ordinances may or may not exist, I'm not going to do it. It just doesn't make business sense to spend several $1,000s dealing with insurance and inspections and stuff to find out there's something in the policies and procedures that's going to bite me. So anyway, you guys could do that tonight if you want to bring that up, get rid of it. I'd be a legal taxi tomorrow. I'm pretty sure at least 2 checker guys would come back out, get their chauffeurs, and we'd have a cab companies again. Checker has been out quite a bit since the beginning of the year. During Iditarod, they were out. January, February, they're out. Right now, you've got 3, maybe 4 people that come out about 11. Right when I stop at 11, I see them coming out. There's 3 or 4 little SUVs, and they're giving rides. They're technically saying it's free, but the people in this town, if I'm getting a free ride home from bars, I'm going to give them a heck of a tip. And I'm sure that's what's happening. They're just doing it for tips, which, that technically, not any different than what I'm doing. I'm doing it for donations for the cheerleading club. And you guys could all ask the cheerleader coach if I'm doing it or not, and she'll tell you I am. And I think so far I've given her like $7,000, plus bought all the girls' earrings, plus bought all headbands, and those aren't cheap. But anyway, thank you for your time.
Are there any other citizens who would like to speak tonight?
Good evening, Jamie Burgess, Superintendent for Nome Public Schools. First of all, I would like to say that I was heartened to see that the budget discussion looks like that that you have made some decisions to increase the funding from the 2.7 million that was being publicized to 3 million, which I do appreciate. There is some effort in increasing funding in schools. I would like to say that, this still leaves us about $500,000 short from our current budget, and there will be some work to do. Probably some of it may be a little painful when it comes to our students, programs, et cetera, to try to get ourselves to a balanced budget that we are required to. I just want to encourage you to, as things continue to develop and you have more information, if there's any way in the future that you can see to increasing that as we go forward, that would be great. I also do want to put it on record that one thing I am still disappointed to see is that the funding that was promised several years ago with regards to the security upgrades for the elementary school and the high school, Entrances has been removed from the budget entirely. As we saw in the recent town hall that we held, that those are something that the community kind of expects that we're going to figure out and get it done. Part of the reason my disappointment is because I was having a conversation with my maintenance director about how could we possibly look at making some good headway in that internally rather than having to go out to bid, because we know that that has continued to result in bids that are well over the amount that was originally budgeted to be funded. So he and I were talking about what can we come up with for about, $450,000 roughly, that what could we do? And we were talking about ways that we could work on it internally ourselves as opposed to having to go out to bid. So I would encourage you as well. I know that that's, I see that you're deficit spending, but we are too. Basically, we're stripping down everything we have. Our reserves are disappearing, and we have no way of, again, we're completely and totally dependent upon the legislature and our community as a whole in order to keep schools going. We have made, again, we're working really hard. I would put our IT director has been working very hard, and we're very lucky in that we have qualified for what's called the Bag Unlimited grant, which basically means that the 10% that the district pays that we don't get funding for through the federal government is 100% covered. So we will have no costs for internet this year. It will save us about $145,000. And we'll have more internet than we did before because there is more competition coming back. So we'll have probably about triple the internet that we've had for the past years for absolutely, and won't cost us anything. So we're grateful for that. But, we are also concerned that we may also have some unanticipated expenses. We're looking at property tax increases. We've budgeted for an increase, but what the things we're coming back with we're going to have, in order to keep things, we're going to have to raise our raise deductibles, which isn't necessarily where we want to go because we have had claims over the years, as well as health insurance. Those are things that, unfortunately, those things are a little bit out of our control. So we do have some concerns that even if we make some cuts, and some of the cuts we might have to have a conversation about are not going to be pleasant cuts. We had a little bit of a conversation today about, that the possibility of leaving positions unfilled that are currently vacant at the high school, also at the elementary school, which would mean multi-grade classrooms would have to be coming down the pike, and some of the other things that we could potentially look at is we are not required by law to provide transportation to students, with the exception of individuals that have it written into their individual education plans. And also we could do like many other schools around the districts around the state are doing, and that they're no longer providing food services. And both of those would save money to the school district. But they would also have some significant impacts on our community, which would not be positive in nature. So again, I'm very appreciative of the fact that you guys are trying to look for ways to start increasing your contribution. And I'm hopeful that as things move forward, that we'll continue to find ways to kind of bring us up to where we need to go. We are watching what's happening in the state legislature. There is some one-time funding sitting in there because there is a BSA increase bill that did come up, but it doesn't look like it's going to get across the finish line during this legislative session. They have put a one-time funding increase in the budget, again, kind of as a stopgap measure against that eventuality. However, that also has to survive the governor's veto pen, which he still, even though this will be his last session, he still seems to be very happy in using it liberally. And there doesn't seem to be the appetite for the votes to overcome a veto like there was last year. So, long story short, we're going to have to go back because we need to come back once again and present you with a balanced budget. but there is always opportunity. However, we will miss some opportunities for hiring because this is the hiring season. We're going to have to make some decisions about what positions we fill or leave unfilled over the next month or so. So again, I encourage you as you guys, continue to work through. If there's any way that you can find for additional funding, that would be greatly appreciated. But again, I do appreciate the fact that you guys went back to the table and looked and are willing to give us a little more than originally anticipated. And we do appreciate that. So thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Sarah James. I'm a senior at Nome Belts, and I am the student council president. I'm here for the same reasons as Jamie. I think we've noticed like the allocated funding for our current school year is down 23%. I saw, but I just heard from Jamie B that's supposed to be going up. But we're all here to talk about how we think that we should increase the budget as much as possible. We know it's very complicated. We know there are things that go into much more than we know now. But we just want to talk about more about that.
Yeah, so I'm Renee. I'm the vice president of the student council in the high school. I'm a junior. And I just want to say that our schools, they really are missing a lot of positions and facilities and things that they need. Like our elementary students, they don't have a counselor. They don't have anyone to talk to about their mental health, about their issues at their home, about the alcoholism, the generational trauma that's going on. I volunteered at the elementary for a few months, helping students with reading. And there are third graders who are just now learning to read, reading at kindergarten paces. The reading specialist, she had to move to be a classroom teacher because they weren't able to fill those positions. So now there isn't a reading specialist, and we have third graders who are just now learning to read when they should have been in kindergarten. That's a really big issue. And I just think that this is a really important matter, and this affects the future of students in Nome, and this affects the future of Nome. So I feel like it should receive more consideration. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sage Craig, and I'm a junior, and I'm a representative for the student council as a junior rep. And I also agree with Renee and Sarah and Jamie. Like, we really need to invest in our future now so that we can have a better outcome in the future and really help the kids. We right now, a lot of our teachers are going to have to go away next year. A lot of good, solid teachers that students have connections with. And I feel like that's going to have a big impact because who are the kids going to turn to now that they don't have their favorite teachers? Because we don't really have a student or a counselor or a nurse. So who are the people going to turn to talk to now? Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm also here about the same issue. My name is Kai Kent, and I've grown up in Nome. I moved away when I was 13. When I was younger, I loved going to school here. I used to go to school sick. Learning has always been an important part of my life. And since I moved out of Nome, I've gotten to see other schools that have had way less opportunities and schools that have had way more opportunities than I ever did in Nome. The communities that don't have good access to education struggle with so many things, especially development, like what Sage was saying. During my first year and a half of high school, I attended Mount Edgecombe, where there was no shortage of teachers or extracurricular activities. Coming back to Nome in the beginning of 2024, it was disappointing to see the quality of our education was worse than it was before I left. Since I've been back, I've seen a decline. And this year, I and a couple of peers were left with no advisor from multiple extracurricular activities, including National Honor Society, Spirit Club, and Ed Rising, all of which I have been a part of before or are currently part of. That is not even all of the activities that have been dropped. We have had to ask the few teachers that we do have to advise these activities, in addition to all of their dedication to our classrooms. One of our teachers is advising 3 different extracurriculars while teaching both high school and middle school classes. He was also involved with the basketball team, and that's a lot of work for one person. Reducing our school's district budget would only lessen our teacher positions and retention, which are already struggling to begin with, and would add to the responsibilities of the staff that we already do have and add more stress onto the students. Thank you for your time.
Hi, my name is Aloris Desenko. I'm the student council representative. I'm talking as a student, obviously. I'm a senior. It's my last year in high school. I'm off to college next year. It was really hard getting prepared for college. I had to do a lot of my own research. I had to do everything myself. Our advisor, is Aaron Brown an advisor or counselor? Our counselor, he does a lot of stuff. He's great. I love him so much. He's very great. But he is overworked and he is doing a lot of stuff that he shouldn't be doing, and that's infringing on the students, the seniors especially. My friend Wookie, she graduated last year. She and I, it's not something new. Yeah, and I think there just needs to be a lot more. Colleen Johnson is the one who usually helps students. She was a big help in my cash scholarships, and yeah, thank you.
Hi, I'm Wookie or Oath Nichols. Just like kind of piggybacking on like the counselor situation and like getting ready for like college. Last year, I kind of saw that it was like Brown is overworked. Like we definitely needed more support, because it's like we don't really have we didn't have like, we just need someone like there with us through the steps, because there isn't really people talking about it too much in high school about what we're supposed to do to get us prepared for college. Like they say it should, or like they say that they're doing, but it's just, there's a lot more needed to get us ready for college or get them ready for college. And this year I'm hearing and seeing that they aren't getting as much support as we did last year, which was still kind of questionable. And it's just really sad to see that they don't have that help that they need. And it can really impact a lot of kids going to college and the jobs that they're getting, and how they're all the scholarships that they're getting, they're barely getting any information on a bunch of the scholarships that they can get around our community. And I don't know, it's just disheartening, because there's not much help and information put in to the school and to them. And it's sad because they're losing a bunch of opportunities. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Claire Fagerstrom, and I'm also a senior at our high school, and I'm also on the student council. I just wanted to know, like places where I've seen where the school is having trouble paying or things. I've seen instances where the admin, different members, like the vice principal, the principal, other teachers even coming to cover for classes where that shouldn't have to, during their prep time, during time where they could be doing other work, because we can't afford to find a sub. Also talking about, I don't know, I heard one of our admin members saying that they only had $270 in the budget left. And also talking about throughout my high school year, honestly, just the infrastructure inside the school, seeing the ceilings black and decaying, and honestly, like just putting comments in and not really receiving any feedback. And I know that they did recently remodel, but then this year again, the pipes were leaking, ceilings were taken out, like these tiles, and just trash cans everywhere to catch water, even in the gym also. And that's all I really have to say. I'm just pointing out some things that I've noticed.
Are there any other citizens who would like to speak today? Seeing none, we do have another citizens' comments. If something comes up that you'd like to bring up later. Right now we'll go to new business. Under new business, we have a resolution. Could you read that by title, please? We'll do one at a time.
Resolution R 260401, resolution setting the city of Nome contribution for the FY 2027 Nome School District budget.
We're making a recommendation
based on today of not 2.7, but the 3 million on this, because I think, Jamie, we have what, 2 weeks in response or something, so we'd like to go ahead and put something out there. I feel comfortable with the 3, and then we'll be negotiating over the next few weeks to see if you can increase it. But I was looking at least the 3 million in this resolution. Totally up to you, or the 2.7. It's up to council.
So the current, well, first of all, deal with the initial motion,
Yes.
addition resolution. And then if we choose to increase it, we can have an amendment.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All right, Councilman Henderson, Councilman Markson, discussion?
My first question is, why are we doing this now? Because ever since I've been on the council, we decide on the school funding amount at the last council meeting in May. And that's like, what, 6 weeks away. So just to sort of help folks understand, including the council, why are we doing this now when we literally just saw a first draft of the city's operating budget tonight?
The schools have issued to us, there's actually a process by which that they can make this request. So we're now in, it doesn't have to wait until May 1st to May 31st. They've done that in advance, and I think we have just a week or two, Jamie, so we have a deadline, and we will have to set that at this point before May. We talked with the attorneys.
So why was the request made in the first place? This is the first I've heard that, we're trying to make a decision with very little to no information on our budget, situation.
Yep.
And we're making a decision now. What's the purpose of this? Why have we deviated from what we've done?
The law. We have been notified by the school board what their intentions are, but we have, I think it's a 30 day, Jamie, and that's been done, and we have less than we can have 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah.
So, so we have, less than 2 weeks. We're required now to tell them what they're going to get. And it really is, if you want to start at 2.7, know the working budget's at 3 million. You can do it any way you want, but we're on a deadline now since the school, and I've confirmed that what they have sent is appropriate and that it has put us on a new deadline.
I don't want to engage people outside of the council
Yeah.
but what's the purpose of this early request? Why are we doing it, or what's the intent or the hoped for goal by doing it 6 weeks?
The request once the school board adopted or resolved that we have to act within a certain time period, we have to by law do that now.
So the schools have requested we act earlier than normal.
And that they have
an understanding. We have just seen the first draft of the operating budget this evening. It wasn't even in the packet.
No. We can hold off another week. We'd have to call, once we talk some more, but I'm now under a new deadline.
Okay. I'll just pose the question. Doesn't that risk the council approving a lower amount for school funding than what we would potentially approve once we understand all the complexities of the budget?
You're correct.
So this may not be in the best interest of Nome Public Schools by making an early decision like this with very little to no information.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And we wrote it at 2.7, knowing very well we're in a working budget. So you can go with what we have put in place is the 2.7, knowing we're trying to work towards, a number if we can. And my recommendation right now with this budget is an additional 300,000. That's part of the working budget. And you still have not seen the whole bucket yet. You're just getting there.
Increased 300,000 amount. What is that based on? In the resolution says 2.7.
Yeah, that's two, but we were looking at,
just the discussion, the general questions tonight made you decide on the additional 300,000
No.
or?
I had the 300 in there. So, for tonight, you can do the minimum of the 2.7 and that still gives us,
The resolution says 2.7.
that's correct. So you don't have to do the 3 if you're not comfortable.
Councilman
And we will
Lust,
wait.
did you have a
Yeah.
comment?
Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to kind of make sure I was following this right in my head. The school board kind of did an opening volley by passing their budget, and then that starts a 30-day clock. And I just want to make sure, and again, I think that, I not only want to see us, reasonably over time get the 3.5, but I want to see full funding for schools. So my question tonight is, because there's this 30-day clock, if you pass the resolution at 2.7 or 3, does that preclude us as we just go through our budget process? Again, we've just seen this document for the first time tonight. You can increase it at the end. We just wouldn't be able to go back. So
That's correct.
strategically, it might make sense to keep it at the 2.7 with the understanding
And that's why
that
we wrote it that way.
that we want to get to a higher number.
Yeah.
But if we give, say, 3, then that's it. And then the secondary question to that is, what happens hypothetically next year if the school district just asks for the full max contribution and passes out their budget in February? Where does that put us? That's kind of the nature of this opening volley real soon before we have a chance to dump into anything is, I just don't, yeah.
I see what you're saying. That particular question, I would definitely pass on to the attorneys if it's earlier. Yeah. So right now, based on what I'm hearing as chairman, is resolution could be the original resolution at 2.7.
No,
Yeah.
nope.
No, we're just discussing.
I would not support that, especially if you think we can get to 3. And if we're doing this tonight, that sounds like that's where we're gonna be.
Well,
We don't have any other information. We just got it.
We're literally.
We just got it.
Sorry.
Yep.
We're literally flying blind here.
And just for clarification, I didn't receive this, at least I didn't see it prior to today.
That's correct.
Yep.
We work till Saturday. Trying to, yeah.
Jamie, would you like something?
Sure. I'm happy to speak to it. So, the school district, sure. The school district also has specific guidelines that we have to work on when it comes to our budget. We have to submit a budget back to the city at some point in time that is balanced. The city has to sign it in order for us to transmit it to the state. And of course, our deadline for the transmission to the state is prior to July 1st. However, typically, I think May 31st is our deadline to have a budget from the school district, from the city. So we have to have one. And, so May, at this point in time, if the city comes back and says 2.7, we only have a certain amount of time to make our adjustments, and then we have to take it back out. We can take it back out to the school board, get it approved in May, or we can push it to a special session in May if you're like, hey, we want more time to do it. But at some point in time, we have to get everybody together and approve a budget that has to be transmitted back prior to May 31st to the city for their signature, and then we transmit it by June 30th to the state. So there is a certain amount of timing that we have to work on as well. Part of the conversation, which I think is what we had when we had our joint work session back at Old St. Joe's, was that, in prior years, we at least kind of had at least kind of an unofficial idea of where we were going to be. And, at least that gave us because that way we kind of, at least when we came and kind of gave the ask was based on some information from the city manager to say, look, I think this is probably where we're looking at. And then it could be adjusted up and down by the council, of course. And like I said, this year we haven't heard much other than we finally got some information at that joint session when the conversation was it was likely to be proposed to 2.7, which was flat funded.
And, but at that point in time, like I said, we're at the point now where we just don't have any wiggle room or reserves. And we talked about at that session that an $800,000, basically flat funding us from year to year, was going to cause us a lot of issues and concerns. You guys say, well, we're going to work on it and probably give you more, but I can't budget. I can't sign things off, issue contracts, fill positions based on we might when we get to a certain point. And part of that conversation is we always kind of had a rough idea from the city a lot earlier where we were going to be landing. And this year we didn't have any rough idea from the city until partway through March. But, we're at the point now, it's like there's just there's very little wiggle room at all. And the conversation we had with you was that flat funding again was going to be pretty drastic. And so we did request, we needed an answer to see where we were going for next year. And there's nothing for you guys to say. You can absolutely come back and say, you can say tonight, 3's looking good. We'll commit to 3. And then you can come back later and say, hey, we squeezed a little bit more out for you because we're going to have to go back. We're going to have to make some cuts. That's just the reality. Whatever you guys come up with us tonight and give it to us, we have to go back then and adjust our budget based on what you tell us you're going to give us tonight or by the 30-day deadline. So that's just kind of that we're working under certain deadlines as well that we have to work under. So that's just kind of for you guys to understand. So like I said, $3 million would be helpful because that's that much less that we don't have to go back and cut out of the budget, that we can kind of work forward on. We've got a couple of folks that we would like to issue some contracts to fill vacancies, but now we're holding because we got to see what we have to do because that's a lot of money for us to cut out of our budget. And like I said, we strip things down pretty much that we either have to do some kind of drastic, ugly things or we have to touch people. No, we don't really have much choices anymore.
So for clarification of process, is this new that we're having to do this at this point?
Yes, I don't think the schools have issued before, so.
No.
Yeah.
We have
So-
never issued,
so it is
but
new.
Typically our information goes to you and we do a special meeting in April, at the end of April, towards the end of April to finalize our budget and then you have the 30 days. So yes, we did ask to push the calendar up this year because we didn't have any other we didn't have any information to go on from us previously, but that we have had over the past, 7-10 years since I've been here. Because we know that you guys have taken a different tact for your budget from looking at last year and this year. With the conversation with you guys saying, we got to figure out how to look at our spending and our expenditures in a different manner. And last year it was really tough for us to say that for the city to come back and say, we're going to cut you guys by $800,000. That was a very bitter pill to swallow, and the school board just isn't really happy because there was the concern that the city right now looked like they were going to balance their budget at the detriment of the school system. And that was kind of what we were seeing. And we're hoping that that's not the case. We would like to get back to the point where we feel that we're working in tandem because we're working together. We should be the school district and the city council. We are partners. And I appreciate the students showing up tonight because the investment, I don't tell people, I don't really have I don't have a stake in this to a certain extent. My kids don't live here. My kids are not going to live here. I'd like to live here for a while. I could go get another job elsewhere as a superintendent anywhere. There's lots of superintendent openings around the country, but I've become a little emotionally attached to this community. And I feel that my responsibility is for those kids. This is their community. This is their future. And I'm fighting to give them the best education possible so that they can become your leaders. And if we don't do it, it's like as long as we continue to erode the quality of education these kids receive, you're not, this is the return. This is the best return on investment you guys could ever do, is investing in your school systems. So.
Council members, any other discussion?
So you said we're going through Jamie, I appreciate you addressing the council on this. You said we're looking at our budget and with respect to education and public schools, we're addressing our budget differently than previous years. Could you clarify exactly what you mean?
Well,
And I'm assuming in this, and I guess the second part of my question is that why the school board, I am sure at your recommendation, has tried to accelerate the approval process for the Nome Common Council to make this decision, I think prematurely. And it may potentially be because we don't have enough information regarding our budget. It may work in the school's detriment, and you may actually get less funding as a result. I'm not saying that's anybody's goal or desire, but it may not work the way that you hope it will. That's my question.
I guess to a certain extent, like I said, whatever, you guys can make a decision, and that doesn't preclude you from coming back later and saying, we would like to increase our contribution. So, I mean, it was just, and it's, do I make recommendations? I make recommendations, but we also have conversations about this with the school board before recommendations come forward. I don't typically make a recommendation that I don't think my school board's going to support, honestly. It just seems like there was a big conversation last year. It was like, hey, we can't keep going the way we're going. And I think you have to agree with me that was the conversation last year in here, was that, we need to take a look at how our budget, because otherwise, if you guys were thinking everything was great, then I don't understand why then was the decision to significantly reduce the amount of funding that was given to the school district. We haven't seen that in a very, very long time. It wasn't even, flat funded from the prior year. It was a $700,000 cut. So that signaled to the school board and everyone that the city was changing their direction in how they chose to support the schools. That's the only way that we can interpret it. And so the conversation this year, when it just didn't feel like we were working and talking together on the same page, but to say that this would be the detriment of us. Like I said, you guys are going to make the decision how much you're going to give us. And if you say, great, we're going to give you $3 million, and then you're like, we're going to get through our budget process, and then we'll come back to you and say, hey, guess what? We found another $300,000 to give you. You're not precluded from doing that. So to say that it's to our detriment to do this, I'm not exactly sure where you do that unless it was something where the city council's saying, well, if you push back on our budget process in the timeline for which we're comfortable with, then we're going to just give you less money. I don't know why you otherwise would say that.
And cut your budget is what you're gonna do tomorrow, right? Wouldn't that hurt everything? I mean, I think that's what it means. You gotta set a new budget now.
Absolutely.
If we change it, the funding don't give you what you want.
Right, yeah.
And no matter if we give you more money in May, you've already set your budget. And you haven't hired these teachers. You haven't done any of that yet because of that.
So,
go ahead.
I don't mean to interrupt anybody, but as I recall at the last work session, and again, I hope we can get you the full, whatever you asked for, $3.5 million. The potential detriment that I'm referencing is that, by trying to accelerate a decision by the council for funding before we even have a basic understanding of what our budget in front of us is going to look like. Most council members, including myself, would tend to be conservative and say, well, we're kind of flying blind here. We don't have any financial information. I'd sure like to give you $3.5 million, but I don't know if we can. So the potential, decision might be to be more conservative, as opposed to if we follow the normal budget process and basically have another 6 weeks to make to evaluate the budget, go through our process, go through our work sessions, understand it like you have gone through with the school's budget. We very well may be able to come up with a full $3.5 million. That's the detriment I'm referring to. Another question I've got is, So normally, I think the Nome Public Schools is required by ordinance to submit a budget to the city council by May 1st, right? That's what the ordinance is.
Yeah.
And that's not even a final budget, because there's a series of changes that are made based on the decisions of funding made by the city, based on decisions of funding made by the state.
But our hiring.
And as I recall in our last meeting, the primary reason that you wanted, and I think the school board wanted, a commitment from the city was to sign contracts for non-tenured teachers.
Yep.
Has that happened?
We've issued contracts, yes.
So that's already happened.
Yep.
So the pressure's off.
Not
From
entirely.
the standpoint of, not being able to offer contracts to non-tenured teachers.
That's
It's
true.
already happened.
Yeah.
So again, I'm not questioning, I'm just trying to understand, what's the purpose then, if you've already signed contracts for the non-tenured teachers, what's the purpose of sort of trying to rush this decision by the council before it's had a time to evaluate, the budget? What's the purpose?
No, the purpose is to get a commitment from the city. And I guess part of it is to us, as far as we're concerned, the city should build their budget around school district needs. And the conversation is, it's like, hey, you come to us and you say 3.5 million. And it's like, well, yeah, we're going to give you that. Or nope, that's just really not realistic, And the reality is we project our budgets. We start our budget conversation occurs typically long before yours does. And we're also basing a lot of ours on projection. I mean, that's what a budget is. A budget is of a highly educated guess, a prediction of what the future will hold for us. And that's why we go through budget revisions throughout the year. So for us, this is a conversation when we come to you and you say, we have taken a look at, we have to make projections to the state based on enrollment in like January. We have to tell them this is how much we think we're going to need next year. In January, we haven't even seen based on what we think enrollment's going to be in October. So we have to make projection 10 months ahead of time.
And so in a typical budget cycle, the city has until, is it May 31st, I believe, to make an actual decision in terms of contribution amount. And then after that, the schools then typically makes, based on that commitment by the city, then they make additional adjustments to their final budget before it's submitted to the state. Is that correct?
That's absolutely right.
Okay.
But
So the point I'm trying to make, Jamie, is that your budget's not final. It doesn't have to be final until, I think, the July.
June 30th.
So we've got, I don't see that there's like this really tight time deadline or constraint that we have. We have to make a decision tonight. We've got months. You've got months to make these decisions.
I don't have months to make a lot of these hiring decisions, though. That's the difference, Scott, is I don't have that ability. I'm sorry. But so what happens is that, we only have a certain amount of time in which to hire certified staff. If you guys don't tell us till May 31st and everything, and what if we wait till May 31st and you guys come back and you make some big changes? You make some big cuts. And that's why the conversation has usually been between the superintendent and the city manager has always been kind of like, to a certain extent, behind the scenes conversations. That's where a lot of things, it's political to a certain extent as much as it is statutory. So it says by May 31st. And the city, I think, has always gone, it's like, this is ours, but it doesn't say, there's nothing that absolutely precludes us from asking the question earlier. It's just simply been, it's just not something that the city has always, because the city, we haven't had to, because there's been conversations between the city and the school district already to say, this is likely where we're going to land. And so we try to take that into consideration when we craft our budget in the first place. So we're not coming and asking you guys for something that's pie in the sky that you can't even give us. So that's part of the issue.
I don't want to get into a
That's
debate
never
with you
happened.
about it, but I think it would be irresponsible for the city manager to make commitments regarding school funding and getting ahead of the council before the council has even made, any attempt to evaluate the budget and come to a reasonable determination. I think it would be irresponsible for the city manager to try to make promises ahead of that. That's just my personal opinion. And I don't want this to be a debate.
Right, and I'll just say that the city manager, there's never been an absolute commitment because we absolutely always recognize that the power to make the decisions always lies in the city council.
I think our objectives are the same. I think
Absolutely.
we just have a different way of trying to get there.
Absolutely. And personally, I would prefer to go back. We used, like I said, this is the first time the school board's ever done it, but last year, I think that decision hit the school board really hard. We had a lot of very unhappy school board members.
And as I recall,
about
wasn't
that.
there some reserves or cash that that the city council was not aware of, that was,
We
I'm
don't
pretty
hide-
sure that was.
we've never hidden anything. When you guys-
Their extra funding they're gonna get from the legislator that Jamie was pretty sure they were gonna get, and it was in the amount of 800,000 or 700,000, so that's why the council.
I don't think so.
And then the
No, the money-
apartment had like 900,000 more than what we were told.
It doesn't really matter, but.
Yeah.
They put the thing in, we gotta make a decision.
We took it out of our apartment fund. That's where.
Don't disagree with you on that.
Yeah. That's where the district made up. So we didn't go back and then cut out $700,000 out of our budget. We did not. And the reason that we did not is because rather than having that contribution, we made up for the cut that the city gave us by pulling the money out of our apartment fund. And the apartment fund, the reason why it was in there was meant to help with paying for a new apartment building if and when we ever got to that.
As I recall,
But we don't have that.
it was an issue of the city council spending out of their savings or the school board spending some of their savings as well.
Yeah, but we don't have any savings left. The conversation that we have with you guys is like, well, if you fund us again this year, where are we gonna get it? And the conversation is, we don't know where we're gonna get it. I said a couple of the options were just to say no to the state for funding a major maintenance project. And remember, major maintenance really technically is the responsibility of the city because these are your buildings. And so when people say that our buildings are falling into disrepair and the state's not helping with everything, but the city also has a responsibility when it comes to that to keep the buildings in good repair. And that's why over the course of the past several years, occasionally the city says, we will fund something. We will give you money to take care of a project here and there. And then you can try to go back and get it back from the state. Now, the state has done a very poor job of giving us enough capital money to cover major maintenance statewide, and they recognize that. But that's not gonna help us at this point in time.
Do you have something?
Sorry. Well, no, and for the purpose of tonight, right, we're here to determine what the contribution amount is going to be, kind of the discussion of, we have to get something tonight with the hope of eking out more in the future.
Yes.
I have two questions. I know at one point we were scheduled and it kind of got pushed forward. We had a joint meeting with the school board because there's a lot of things that are getting said tonight that it would be nice to flesh out a little bit. And I may not be understanding, but I see on June 30th, the apartment fund had like 2.3 million in it and the capital fund had 3.3, but 800,000 for a generator. But then we're having these conversations about these draconian, we can't issue teacher contracts, we might shut down food. Again, I don't want to get in the day-to-day business. That's the school board's job to get to do all that fun stuff. But when I look at the original budget that was proposed for FY27 for the school, and just looking at what was passed, there was really nothing substantially changed out of it. It's kind of just been this take it or leave it. But I think we have to come up with our number, but just to be really clear, we could do it at the 2.7, you could do it at the 3, but you just can't go below those caps. You could do it at the 2.7 and hopefully come up with the 3.2, but you couldn't give 3, but then say, hey, we only got 2.9. We'd have to give up the 3.
Yes.
So can we make a motion to bring it up to 3 now?
You can do whatever you want, as long as.
You got somebody second? So I make that motion? You're making a motion to increase the contribution to $3 million.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Councilmember Lust,
Yes.
Councilmember Green.
Oh, sorry.
We got
We got discussion now on the amendment.
Okay, so we have an amendment on the table. Do we have some discussion regarding this amendment before we decide to vote on it?
Are we voting on the amendment or the actual resolution?
From the amendment to 3.
I'm comfortable with it.
I'll just say what I heard tonight with revenue here and things, I don't think coming up with 3 is gonna be a problem. So I mean, if it's a gesture of goodwill to get it up to that 3 and hopefully again, eke out more as we actually get to go through our budget process, I think that is sensible.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Scott.
Not about the specific amendment, but I wanted to ask you earlier. Jamie, you indicated earlier that the city council had committed at some point to fund 100% of the security upgrades. And maybe I missed something, but I recall the city agreeing to use the funds left over from the bathroom remodel project, which was, I don't know, 250,000, something like that. I remember that commitment, but I don't remember a commitment verbally or in writing or anything that said that the city's willing to pay for or agreed to pay for 100% of the security upgrades. Can you refresh my memory in terms of when we made that commitment or who made that commitment? Because I just don't recall.
Well, it wasn't me. I'd have to go back to see when that was originally placed in your budget. I mean, you'd have to go back and take a look. It was originally placed in your budget. And I believe that was, I don't know, that was back when Mr. Hanlon was still mayor. And I believe that was the discussion and that was in your budget. You guys would have to go back for a couple of years and see when that total amount was about 400-some-thousand was placed in the budget.
In a final budget?
Maybe 3 years ago.
In the final budget?
Correct.
And
what we have always done
Yeah.
is when the city funds projects, just like you did with the bathroom project, what we do is that we then submit that project to the state major maintenance. And as long as it remains on the list, but we have to wait for the state to actually agree to fund it. And when that is funded, that money is transmitted back to the city. So remember when the bathroom project was paid for by the city, and then the bathroom project was submitted to the state and it was funded by the state. However, you will only get 70% of that amount back because there is always expectation that we have a 30% match for any project. So 70% of that project was returned to you. And I believe the bathroom project was around 850,000. I don't remember off the
Excuse me,
top of my
let's
head.
bring us back to, we have an amendment on the table that we're under discussion about increasing 2.7 to 3 million. We have some further discussion regarding that amendment.
Is this for just the schools operating? That includes maintenance, right? It encompasses their entire budget.
Yes. It's the city's contribution to the school for the year.
I'm going to ask the question, even though I know it's an unpopular one. What's the purpose of increasing it for the current resolution from 2.7 to $3 million? What's the purpose of doing that? Knowing that we can always increase it more once we understand our budget better. So what purpose does it serve?
It's like Adam said, a gesture of goodwill. It's know that we can work together and try to talk things out and try to come up with the best situations.
I understand in this budget that we didn't really get to tonight during our budget work session, that there's a $3 million contribution in the budget.
Yes.
And what's the deficit in the budget in this very first draft?
Yeah.
Close to $1 million.
Close to, yeah.
It's $1 million.
But we have,
Ball revenue,
Yes.
high.
We all hope.
expenditures.
and we have some other revenues that we want to increase. Landfill fee, things that haven't increased since the 90s. So that, but again, with the budget you have, you don't know that until we go through it. Those are big deals.
I absolutely
raising revenue.
want to get Nome Public Schools the full $3.5 million. I'm cautious about just sort of approving these increases without any understanding of the budget and the details, and the initial, even though it's very cursory, shows $1 million deficit at this point. And I'm concerned about just increasing it by another 300,000 simply to show good faith. I don't think that's necessary to show good faith. I think as council members, we have a fiscal responsibility to understand the budget and to not make decisions until we understand the financial implications of those decisions. Do I support 2.7? Absolutely. And I hope we can get, and I'm going to work very hard to make sure we can get to $3.5 million by May 31st. But I do not support simply increasing it now as a show of good faith. I think that's not necessary. So just my position.
And I support it because the financial person and the city manager think it's the right thing to do. But they see something in the budget that's gonna get us there. I'm
okay. That's fine.
I appreciate the comment, and my initial thought when I saw this was keep it at 2.7. Then I saw in our initial draft, it was up to 3, just initially what the city is proposing. But I think these are difficult things to say, but I think it's very truthful that we're in this situation.
Yeah, it's just the accounting part.
Remember, you don't have to talk to him. You can talk to everybody.
Sorry.
He just generally takes over.
Yes. Well, I'm just right across from Scott, so
I was being quiet.
I know.
Okay, I'm done.
And what we're hearing is traditionally, up before last year, that the city manager would look through their budgets and come up with an idea that they're going to propose to the council of what they thought that they could fund. And that's what they brought forth. And that's kind of what Jamie is saying, that they indicated to the school, based on what we have, I'm going to propose that we do this. We're looking at it a different way now, to start out at a different number and then propose going up, basically, because we're running deficit budgets. So it is a little bit of change of way of doing things. It's not intention. It's not on the back of the school to do that. There are many other cuts that were made in several departments last year, in addition to the school, to get it to where we were. School was one of them, and then there are other ones as well. And I think there's a lot of room in this budget to cut other areas also. So we'll have to go through that.
Mm-hmm.
Any other discussion on the amendment to increase from 2.7 to $3 million? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Johnson,
Yes.
Councilmember Martinson,
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson,
No.
Councilmember Miller,
Yes.
Councilmember Green,
Yes.
Councilmember Lust.
yes.
Motion passes. Thank you. Okay, back to the original motion,
It's now at $3 million.
which is now at $3 million. And we have is there any further discussion regarding that? Hearing none, let's hear a roll call on the main motion as amended.
Councilmember Johnson,
Yes?
Councilmember Martinson,
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson,
Yes.
Councilmember Miller,
Yes.
Councilmember Green,
Yes.
Councilmember Lust.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes. Okay, the next agenda item is a resolution. Could you read that by title, please?
Sorry. Resolution R 26-04-02, a resolution supporting the funding of local emergency planning committees, LEPCs, in smaller communities across the state of Alaska.
Second. Councilmember Miller, Councilmember Green. First and second, any discussion? Seeing none, a roll call, please.
Councilmember Lust,
Yes.
Councilmember Green,
Yes.
Councilmember Miller,
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson,
Yes.
Councilmember Morrison,
Yes.
and Councilmember Robinson.
Yes. Okay, we have nothing currently under unfinished business. And that brings us to the second citizens' comments. Are there any citizens that would like to come and address the council, Mr. Leeper?
Clearing the room.
Is that what you said yesterday?
All right, do we have a utilities manager's report tonight? Oh,
Can I just make a quick comment that we want to congratulate Wally on having his daughter?
Oh, thank you.
His first child.
Oh, congratulations.
That's why his eyes are bloodshot. He's not sleeping.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's going to get better.
do we have a utility manager's report tonight?
No, we didn't
If
have.
you were online, so I can say no.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, now we're at the city manager's report.
Yes, I'm gonna, I've got some things after in the executive session, but right now, I do want to mention to you, I was able to secure, and we'll do a formal announcement in July. It's just bugged me. We don't have a lot of support here for our veterans, and we have a lot of veterans in this community. But I've been meeting with the VA, and we're going to get a Veterans Administration office here. And it'll be several, but they're going to announce exactly what it is in July. They're going to come give you a presentation. They've been here the past couple of weekends meeting with veterans. So I just want to let you know, I'm excited about that for our veterans. They deserve better. And the state and the feds listen to us, and they're going to give us some days. So just wanted to let you know that anybody else is, I'm excited about it. I know the VFW is really excited. You do have the port director's report. Then we have the visitor center report. I want to congratulate the chamber on a good job with the hire. We've been meeting with Mr. Bogart for, I don't know, the last month or two. Very good at, putting a plan in place. So I'm looking forward to working with the visitor center and the chamber this year. They've worked really hard over the last year, so I'm excited about that. So, you see his report, a lot of ideas. I did have some, but it's going to be very good. I'm excited about that. So, yeah.
Any questions or discussion with the city manager while we have them at our fingertips? Councilmember Lust, you like you.
I've got a
like
lot. I was just curious whether or not, I know in our calendar for the finance budget, there was supposed to be a joint session with the school board in April. Of course, it got pushed forward. Are we having any future discussions with them as we go through our budget process?
It's up to you, up to council.
Right,
If
yeah.
you want to do that.
Again, I've got some tremendous misgivings about the size and direction of their budget, but I want to find funding, but I want to make sure that we're getting money to where it needs to go. We had some really great students here tonight that were talking about what they experienced, and
But we don't get to make those decisions. That's what the school board's for, where the money goes.
yeah, so that's kind of a question of the legislative intent of the city council, but more importantly, talking with their school board and expressing those concerns. If one thing, and again, as the city manager's report, what's their vision kind of is kind of where I struggle.
Yeah.
I had a couple of questions for you. When are property tax appeals due?
April 24th.
April 24th?
Let me rephrase that. In our office by 5 p.m., April 24th.
Okay. I don't think we can advocate for, to appeal your property tax, but I can advocate to say, if you haven't opened it up, please open it up and read it.
I agree with that.
Because they have increased substantially, and you should really take a look at them to make sure that you're aware of that. And I think Councilmember Henderson brought that up before, and since that time, I've received mine, and I understand other people have received theirs as well. So, and there is a process. It's called the appeals process, and so it should, if you're not happy with it, you should
Contact our
state that.
office, we'll get you an appeal form.
Yep.
Does have to be notarized, so if you are out of town, make sure you notarize it and send it back, or come and see us and we'll notarize it for you.
And so there's a process that's available right here at City Hall. I know Joy always does a great report as a port director, very informative. But I wrote, I did make a note, who wrote this visitor center report? Because in my mind, has the most information, helpful report that I've seen in a lot of years.
Yes.
I thought that the suggestions to town as a whole, as well as the visitor center, I thought was very, very helpful for us to, as a direction.
Well thought out.
Well thought out, and also good feedback of different, there were so many different feedbacks in there. I thought it was really well written and very helpful.
Yeah.
And then I know there was a comment earlier about us making a bunch of rules with the taxis. I don't believe that we have any changes. I think the taxi rules are the same rules that we've had for
Actually, lessen some of the requirements.
Yeah,
It's actually less, I don't use the word taxing, that's not appropriate, but it's less onerous, go with what we've done. It's not a tremendous process.
So I just want to make that comment that the city is open for taxi business, and there are a few hoops to go through. I think the comments are made, you just need to be a good person with a little bit of insurance, and that's still the same rule. You just have to do that thing and go through that process. It's not anything addition. Brad, would you have something else to add to
I
that?
would like to, first of all, I want to apologize for overstepping when Mr. Longley was speaking. When he comes in here basically every other day and we give him the information he's asking for.
Everything.
And then he twists words around. It's a little tough. So, he was never denied anything. He was told that the policies and procedures is an inter-office item, that they're not always written down on paper. He got a copy of the ordinance. He got a copy of the active chauffeur's licenses that he asked for. So everything he's asked for, we've given them to him, so.
Yeah.
And
You
again, I
don't
just
make
want to
him-
apologize to the council members for overstepping my mouth, I guess.
I guess to answer that, do we have any additional policy and procedures that's not in our ordinances for taxi cabs?
No.
Okay.
It's just
So that's-
process in the office, how they do it, how they do the forms, but.
So that's basically a staff manual, so to speak, on how to handle certain things regarding permits or whatever else. It's not something that the public needs to jump through in order to do it, and it's not going to necessarily change what's in our ordinance.
Correct.
Is that correct?
It
Okay.
will not.
All right. And
And I have had meetings with at least one owner, and, they have their own take on why they are not doing it. And, and I will tell you, the decision was not about the ordinance. It was not about anything. It was about personal choices. And I get that. So I've had several people say, Lee, you've got to come in here and start a taxi cab service. And I went, we can't do that. That's a, private enterprise.
so, sorry to sound like a broken record, but spring has sprung here, and where are we at with the basketball hoops coming up this summer?
Well, we have the money, so now we're doing a preliminary engineering report to put in at least the main court. But we have looked on the east side and the west side, and we own property. But, I've went out and talked to a few homes and said, if we were to improve this area for what? And I'm like, well, a basketball, like a 3/4, on these small sites, full at recreation. Are you fine with recreate? Cool. But if I don't want it near my house because of noise. So we know we're going to have some public input. Chip and I talked about it, and we knew, but that's going to be part of it, to get everything, the concrete ordered and all that. But yeah, we're moving on with the preliminary engineer report to build that this year.
Okay, and I've had a few comments. Pickleball is a very popular sport in
I'm
Alaska
really
and
bad at it.
nationwide. So, and I know, but it also requires pavement, I believe, or very good surface that you could play with that wouldn't be full of rocks, probably. But I don't know if Chip has that on his radar, but that's also a very popular thing that people participate in. That's all. That's all the questions and comments I had for the city manager.
Mark?
Yes. Oh,
Just one question. I think the last time we talked about taxi cabs, I asked staff to put together like an informational packet that if somebody's interested in applying for, a taxi permit, that they could come in and they have all the information regarding the vehicle inspections and the physical and the chauffeur's license. Did we ever do that? So
We've got
if I'm
kind of a
interested.
first draft, because I don't want to put it in there and be wrong, because I have people examining with a microscope. But it's going to be just like anything, a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Right.
So that's where I'm at. Within a couple weeks, we'll have that. Yeah.
We did have a resident come in and inquire about starting a cab business, so I gave her the tax application, gave her the ordinance, I gave her everything.
We bought her
she needed.
lunch.
Chauffeur's-
I'm
yeah.
kidding.
Chauffeur's license application, gave her everything, so.
We have an informational packet all together.
Yeah.
That'd be great. Thanks. So, thank you.
anybody else? We got them. All right. Since the mayor's out of town, we go to council member comments.
Councilmember Johnson.
You always have me on your first of your list.
Your name starts in.
Don't
Starts
give
with
him
a
hard
J.
time. He's not sleeping, baby, remember?
So I just have one comment. I wish the police chief was still here because we lost another young person to drugs. And I really wish that our police force and the troopers would put a very good effort into knocking down the people that are dealing the drugs to our young people that are because they are dying. And I think somebody brought up about fentanyl. Leon did. And I think that we, as a community, we're also a hub community. So things that go through here go out to the villages. So if we can make a better effort towards drug dealers and people who are pushing drugs, I think that would be a very priority for our city to do that on the forefront. And we don't seem to do that now. That's all my comments for now.
Councilmember Lust.
As I was going through the budget packet, I got certainly looking forward to continuing those presentations and learning more about that. I've got lots of questions on some of the staffing changes, particularly around making sure that we've got enough boots on the ground here to adequately meet the needs of the city as far as like human resources and things like that go. So there's lots of work ahead on that. And I will say that I very much appreciated the student council representatives coming today and really hearing their truth about what they experience is something that is good to hear as a reminder. And I thought that was very powerful, and I appreciate that. And I also had, I think that's it.
Councilmember Green.
Oh, I just wanted to thank the student council for coming and thank everybody for our discussions on every topic that we've had tonight. And it's been pretty thorough, and I know we've gotten off track on things, and I think Kenny would have been upset with us for moving from one thing to another, but it was pretty nice tonight. Thank you.
Councilmember Miller.
I see Chip is here. I do want to thank you and the city manager for all the work getting that brand new credit card reader at the rec. And then I also would like to see something, at least a discussion about having, we saw it in the economic development plan. We talk about partnerships and different things. The other museum pays rent. I would really like to see that our city museum work at least with the tourism industry or something to capture more than just a donation. I kind of noticed also too with our plan for the economic development plan, and also kind of like just the nature of when tourists do come to town or cruise ships come to town, you know, like it changes the dynamic, the influx of people. It changes our dynamic, our traffic flow, our day-to-day life. And I think, you know, we're thinking, oh, like tourism does bring money in some ways, but we do have residents who pay taxes who stay here year round, right? Like that's, I think, kind of where our mind should also be, is how are we benefiting our citizens? And I think that that museum is really expensive to heat and to preserve these artifacts, and also, you know, thinking about some kind of charge, at least, you know, $5, something small. I mean, these people pay thousands and thousands of dollars for a cruise ship ticket. I don't think they wouldn't pay $5 to see our museum. And we're looking at a deficit, you know, trying to come up with different ways to close that deficit. Also, I'd like to see some maintenance, even if it comes from the city specifically, pouring into, you know, cutting down these consistent high costs, heat, fuel, utilities, all of those things out at the school, getting their not only maintenance costs, but their heating and fuel costs down. That should save them money, which saves us money, right? So looking at that, and just a big thank you to the road crew, and I hope we can get a better and more consistent partnership with the state. I know we have a lot of road compared to the other hubs, and that is a luxury. I utilize it. I think we all do. But I would really like to see at least someone from the state here every once in a while, at least once a year, to talk about our partnership. We have a DOT office here. Because it is scary at sometimes, you know, when the roads are thawing and there's different washouts, floods, whatever. Yeah, I think that's all. Thank you.
Councilmember Anderson.
Good discussion tonight. I really like the first draft of the budget. I mean, I don't like the deficit, but lots of detail for just a real first look at it, and hoping that the council can figure out how to close that deficit to zero. I really hope that we can achieve a balanced budget this year, and, you know, achieve all of the desires of, you know, everybody. But you know, $1 million it's going to take a lot of work, and I really hope everybody's up to the task. And I would recommend, I'm personally not going to vote for a budget that is not balanced this year. I think it's a really critical issue, and so yeah, good discussion. Thanks.
Councilmember Morrison.
Oh yeah, just one thing, here in the VA is gonna have an officer as a veteran. That's pretty awesome. It's not hard, but it'd be nice to have that here. So it's cool that the city and the state and the VA are putting one here, and not just for us too. I mean, there's lots of vets in the villages around here.
Exactly.
It'd be a lot easier to come to Nome or have a phone call and phone number in Nome to call. So yeah, it's gonna be great. That's all I have.
That's all.
So I know on the agenda, we do have an executive session. Are we anticipating having to come back into a session to vote on anything after the executive session?
No, sir.
No, okay. Would entertain a motion to get in executive session.
Second.
Councilman Henderson, Councilman Green. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Lust.
Yes.
Councilmember Green.
Yes.
Councilmember
That's for
Miller.
you.
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson. Yes. Councilmember Morrison.
Yes.
And Councilmember Johnson.
Yes.